What's poppin', y'all? Welcome to Chip and Zay here on Texas Sports Unfiltered, rocking with us for 2 to 4. Today, I am Zay Collier. You know, Chip Brown, he be on that CP time, but he will join us shortly. A lot to talk about on this Monday. I know a lot of you guys are off today. Congratulations. But, hey, new viewers, same old viewers, doesn't matter. We are rolling here on a Monday. Football never stops. Obviously, sports never stops, and we got y'all for all types of sports talk, which it was a jam-packed, really fun weekend for Texas athletics from the baseball team in Arlington. Losing that first game, Louisville, extra innings. It seemed like the Horns had it, tied game, or they're up by 2, and then Louisville ended up tying the game, but hey, you take care of an SEC foe in Ole Miss. You take care of an old Big 12 foe in Oklahoma State, putting up a lot of numbers, ruling Ole Miss. So that's what I'm talking about. Softball team still undefeated, 11-0. They're rolling. And then Texas women's basketball getting the huge win yesterday against Kim Mulkey and LSU. Texas men's basketball, much needed win after losing 3 straight, beating Mark Pope and Kentucky at the Mood. So hell of a weekend. We're going to break it all down. Couple of bad, sports events this weekend, like the NBA All-Star game. That shit was trash. It was awful. I am very embarrassed for the NBA. Adam Silver trying to do something new, bringing in those rookies and sophomores in the Rising Stars game and putting them on the court with all of those legends. That was an absolute joke. Don't really understand that. I get that he tried to make it more competitive, but them dudes were playing soft. Them dudes weren't playing hard either. Like, I don't know what we're doing. Like, they're still NBA players. These cats are worth so much damn money. Nobody's going to put their body on the line. Everybody wants a vacation. That's what the NBA All-Star game is. It's basically a vacation, a little getaway. You get a little break from the grueling NBA 82-game season. And, yeah, you saw what you saw there, but Shaq's team won somehow. I don't really understand it. I don't really get what the point was, but Stephen Curry gets MVP. All-Star weekend as a whole, slam dunk contest was cool. Mac McClung doing this thing, jumping over cars and shit like that. That was dope. I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty cool. But yeah, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about everything this weekend, and there he is, the great, legendary Chip Brown in the flesh. What's up, dude?
What's going on? Happy President's Day. In the immortal words of Judy Brown, happiness is a choice. Hope you're spending some time with us. Chip and Zay breaking it down for you on an Overreaction Monday. Zay, lot to talk about, lot to overreact to, lot to like, honestly, about what happened over the weekend. Men's basketball handles Kentucky. Women's basketball handles Kim Mulkey and LSU after being down 12. And the young guns showed up big. Brianna Preston, Jordan Lee, even a little Justice Carlton sprinkled in there. How about the Final Five? Now, I know we got a lot. Baseball, a lot of baseball. I was in Arlington for all 3 games, including that effing 4.5-hour. Are you kidding me? On a Sunday, we're playing a 4.5-hour game that starts at 6:30.
Damn.
16 pitchers in that game? Really? Okay. All right. I got it off my chest.
Tell us how you really feel, man.
My God. Softball, Tegan Kavan and Nigeri Kennedy had an instant classic. And then Texas softball throws out we're so deep in our pitching, we didn't have to throw Tegan Kavan until the Sunday game. when y'all didn't have anything left and Texas run rules Texas Tech to win the Bevo Classic. Men's tennis is about to play the semifinals of the National Indoors. I mean, a lot. But Zay, where should we begin?
Let's start with Texas baseball, man. Let's start with Texas baseball because I was really impressed with Jim Schlossnagle's crew. I know it was a devastating loss to Louisville, and they come back the next day, Saturday, and run rule Ole Miss, like beat the brakes off those dudes. And man, these bats, they're impressive. They're impressive. Yeah, what up, Chip and Zat? Like a little typo there. It's all good.
Oops.
CCB, you're my guy. I appreciate that. but yeah, man. Adrian Rodriguez, welcome to Texas baseball. Like, talk about fearless, talk about cocky, confident. He out there dancing. It seems like he gets hype after every hit that he has. Like, he's balled in early, real early. And I thought it was game against Louisville with the homer that he hit in the 10th. I was like, okay, ball game here. You know what I'm saying? Like, Adrian Rodriguez, he's ready for the moment. Bet. Let's go.
Yeah, talk about getting it together. Because he strikes out his first 3 times at bat in that opener on Friday against Louisville. And you're like, oh, wow. Okay, poor guy. Number 4 recruit in the whole nation. It's too big. It's too big for him. After that, he bats .525 with 2 home runs, 3 doubles. I mean, yeah, and we got to talk to him after last night's game for the first time. That's a guy who is special. Like, I don't throw that word around lightly. He gets it. Yeah. He gets it. And Max Ballou probably is the biggest reason I'm saying that, because Max had a great weekend. 2 home runs, 2 doubles. A-Rod had, 2 home runs, 3 doubles. And I agree with you, Zay. They had that game 1 against Louisville. They're up 2-0. They're 1 out away from a shutout. And, they get to Will Mercer. They end up, extending the game into the 10th inning. And then there he is, Adrian Rodriguez with the home run. You're like, oh, wow. Okay. They're going to win this game. 3-2. And then credit Louisville. My God, that pinch hitter, Garrett Pike, he comes in, hits a 2 RBI single to win the game. You're like, okay, got to give it to him. But Texas was learning about their team this weekend, especially the pitching. Jared Spencer is legit.
Yo.
Legit.
He was throwing some stuff, man. Always, you know me, I always love me a good southpaw. He was throwing some stuff. Like that dude, hair flowing in the wind, throwing them back stuff. You know what I'm saying? That dude, Indiana State transfer, he's for real.
He's for
real. I hate that he didn't, get the job, but
he can help. He's
for sure.
I mean, Schloss said after that game, he's like, hey man, we get his stamina up a little bit. We might have us a Friday night starter in the SEC. Okay. I mean, he's throwing in the 90s. He's commanding pitches. My wife, the adorable Elle Bell, was at the game. She's like, is Bert Auburn pitching for them for Texas? And I didn't even dare type it because I didn't want people saying, why are you going to put that on him? But anyway, he's got that hair, man.
Yeah.
Got that hair. It's flowing tight curls, everything. But yeah, he can sling it. And Ruger Riojas, maybe we should have left him in, just a couple of more batters. But anyway, Ruger Riojas looks good.
Does look good.
And I think Will Mercer, the Notre Dame transfer, is going to be good. I mean, I think you're going to have 3 closers. And Schloss is like, we're not doing labels. We're not doing that. He's like, it could be Dre Duplantier. It could be Mercer. It could be Ruger Riojas. It's going to be situational. He's like, it's not like the old days where, you bring in Mariano Rivera to close the game. It's situational. And the thing I like about Schloss is he trusts his coaches. Like Max Wiener, his pitching coach. He gave all the credit in the world to Max Wiener for getting Luke Harrison right. Luke Harrison, who pitched his balls off in that game too. Hello? 10 zip run rule. Luke Harrison was dealing. No one could touch him. 6 scoreless innings.
He throws a mean slider. And
that kid has had 4 pitching coaches in 4 years.
Yeah.
And Schloss is like, he's had a lot of turmoil in his development. He's like, I'm not trying to slam anybody, but you get 4 pitching coaches in 4 years. That's tough. Mm-hmm. And Luke Harrison after the game is like, hey man, I'm just so happy to be still on my college journey and so happy to be pitching for this team. Love my teammates. Okay, we'll take it. And he's got a change up now. Like he has pitches he didn't have a year ago. And that's a credit to Max Wiener. And I like that Jim Schlossnagle says that.
Yeah. And
he credited Tulo for, getting Will Gasparino right. He's like, Will Gasparino is so competitive that if he doesn't get results from his batting stance, he changes it. And Tulo said, dude, you got to stop changing it. You got to pick what you're most comfortable with. And then we're going to build off that. And that's what they've done. So Gasparino has a big weekend. He has 2 dingers. So Ballou, Gasparino, and Rodriguez all had 2 home runs in the 3-game set at Globe Life Field. And I love what Schloss said about Gasparino. He's like Jace Laviolette. If it hits the bat, it's out.
Yeah.
Like he's got that kind of swing. So you just have to set him right and let him build confidence in that swing. And so offensively, you already know they got dudes in that lineup. I mean, they got Adrian Rodriguez. I don't know if Schussler will continue to lead off, but Adrian Rodriguez, Max Ballou, Will Gasparino, those dudes can rake.
Yeah, I like Kimball. It's an interesting leadoff guy. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're originally a catcher, now he's playing that first base spot. Usually you just assume slower fella. But I'm going to trust Jim Schlossnagle, having them there for a reason. Like Kim Schussler, he's been playing baseball a long time. Like, it's only February. Like, you want to be playing your best ball once May and June come. So who knows where he's going to be during that time. But having Adrian Rodriguez as a freshman at that 2 spot says a lot about Adrian Rodriguez and his bat and the confidence that he has. And, Max Ballou, he's just picking up where he left off last year. Like that guy, he's just a straight up baseball player.
And here's the thing about Ballou. He was sick. He's had that flu and it was like 2 weeks long and he couldn't he couldn't work out. He couldn't do the weight room. He couldn't do anything. Like Schloss was like, we didn't know if he was going to play 1 game and he ends up playing all 3 and having the kind of weekend he had.
Yeah. He's took that Robitussin,
Put some tussin on it.
Yeah, put some tussin on it. You know what I'm saying? You be all right, drink some Sprite, ginger ale,
Hey,
Get him back out there. Little Gatorade, Pedialyte. Get them fluids back and get him back on the field. He was right. Whoever got him back right, he needs to keep doing that because I ain't see no flu-like symptoms out of that dude. It seemed like every time he went up to the plate, he was raking.
That dude, every Texas fan, every college baseball fan should be like, man, Max Ballou, that dude is legit because that dude, he's locked in. He studies.
Yeah.
He does what he's supposed to do. And he's been a good mentor for A-Rod because, I mean, Ballou last night told me, hey, man, that dude is so calm. Talking about A-Rod. He goes, you come to the University of Texas to play college baseball as a freshman in your first 1, 2, 3 games. It's a lot. He's like, it's a lot. Like you feel the pressure. It's the winningest college baseball program, 38 trips to Omaha, blah, blah, blah. He's like, this dude is calm. So Rodriguez strikes out his first 3 times and then bats over 500 the rest of the weekend and hits 2 home runs, 3 doubles, 5 RBI. Freshman. Like that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen, kids. Like we thought Will Gasparino was great last year. He didn't do this.
No.
He didn't do this. And Gasparino's big time. Like he's big time. And so they're figuring out the rest. Like those 3 guys, I know already, Zay, after watching them at bats, talking to them, those dudes are going to be centerpieces in the Texas baseball success of the 2025 season because Ballou, he knows what he's doing. Rodriguez is special. And he had over 100 people there. He's from Flower Mound. He had friends, family. He had his high school team. He had his travel league team. Like
that's tough.
That's tough. And
that's hard. That's a lot of pressure.
And for him to hit that dinger in the 10th, I'm glad you said that because like we all kind of looked at each other and we're like, okay, Texas is going to win the game because the freshman just hit a bomb in the top of the 10th. And that's like a wow. So then I get it. Baseball's up and down. It's 3 games. It's a mean sport. It's cruel. It's this and it's that. But Rodriguez, he sees the game. Ballou sees the game. Gasparino sees the game. And I thought they, for a first time out, and they were 1 out away from a 2-0 shutout of Louisville and a 3-0, dominating weekend. And Ballou said it. He said, I'm just happy with the way we answered. Like we know we should have won. We should have won the Louisville game. But we got all these new pieces we don't know. And everybody answered. And they didn't blink.
Yeah, so. Ole Miss, what was it? 7-run, 4th inning, crazy. Then you turn around the next day, 5th inning, 8 runs on them. Like they could put up
with
runs
2 outs. All
8
runs with 2 outs.
Yeah.
And Oak State's making errors in the field to give them. I mean, Schloss said they gave us 2 more outs. Kid drops a ball in right field, and then the third baseman overthrows first base, kind of bobbles it, overthrows first base, and Texas punishes them for it.
Make them pay.
Schloss said, look, if a team gives you 2 extra outs, you got to make them pay, and we did.
Yeah.
8 runs.
Yeah.
2 outs.
Yeah.
Ballou said momentum. We had momentum. Yeah. And Oak State was crumbling.
What about that catch? That's catcher for Gavon. Yo.
Sports Center.
So skilled.
Sports Center. I didn't see Sports Center last night because I was still at the effing park because it was a 4.5-hour game. It was 11:20 when the game Start at 6:30, kids. But was it on Sports Center? I looked at.
I didn't see Sports Center.
Yeah,
I don't know.
mean,
Should have been.
Because the way he made that catch, it was a full layout backwards.
Yeah.
I mean, visually, it was almost like the OBJ catch for the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
He was just extended backwards, arched back, makes that catch. Yeah.
Yo, and you in Arlington, I look like Pudge Rodriguez, bro. That was so skilled, man. That was very impressive. Like, I had to watch that like 4 or 5 times because I don't know how he tracked that down and twerked his body in the way to make that catch. Like, and then final out, Oklahoma State, they're doing the skull Minnesota Vikings thing. And it's like, yo, this team, Schloss has already got this team pretty unified, bro. Schloss already got these guys. They believe early. Like, they know that they got some dogs on this squad. And again, when you're having fun in baseball, because like you said, it's such a grueling game. Like, you hear about Will Gasparino changing his batting stance when you do bad and stuff. Like, you could get in a very dark place really fast, especially when you're a young college player. It's not like being in the show where you're a grown-ass man, you got kids and stuff, and you're getting paid at a high level. Like, you're trying to make it there. So these guys can put a lot of pressure on themselves. They're having fun out there, Chip. They're having a blast. Like, that skull thing, that was dope. They had fans doing it. I want to say Schloss's son is in the dugout too. I feel like that's his son. I don't know who it is, but they have some kid in there like doing it with him. We got to find out who that kid is, but he's over there having the time of his life, and it's just like, damn, man, this swagger for this 2025 team, it's here already.
And you got to love that Schloss is like, we're gonna lead the league in fun. Like, they know how difficult the game of baseball is. They know how you can overthink it and funk your way out of productivity. And I love that Schloss believes in that mental performance stuff with Brian Kane. And then the guys were like, hey, coach, what about facial hair? And Schloss is like, listen, your GPA sucks. If you get your GPA up, we'll talk about it. And then the team got the GPA up, and he's like, okay, we'll go semester by semester. You do what you're supposed to do. I'll take the heat on the facial hair. Because Pierce, no one really let it happen in the past. It was kind of a thing. And so Rylan Galvan's got a beard, and Luke Harrison's got a porn stash, and I mean,
yeah,
and they're having fun.
Yankees, man.
Right.
Steinbrenner, punk self. Just facial hair. Cut.
He's like, I get it. I just came from a program that has crazy traditions. I get it. He's like, but if y'all do what you're supposed to do, you can do it, and I'll take the heat.
Yeah, let that thing grow out. You know what I'm saying? Ladies love a nice little scruff. You out there doing your thing. I like that. Like, lead the league in fun. That's what it's all about. Like, we got new mentality here. Again, what Coach Pierce did, a lot was good. A lot was good. Like, I feel like we bashed David Pierce a ton just because Jim Schlossnagle, brand new toy, you get rid of the old one. That's just how it goes. But what we're seeing these first 3 games is very promising. And I dug it. I really did, especially with the bad juju that you have playing at Ranger Stadium.
Oh, my God, they lost 9 in a row.
Yeah, man. It's been some tough-ass times. So you got to, once you saw Louisville come back the way they did, like, shit, here we go again.
You're like, just stop playing games there.
Yeah.
And Schloss was very matter-of-fact after that game. And I went down there and I said, okay, what was the message to the team? He said, you know what? I didn't talk to him after this game. I said, we'll talk tomorrow when we get
Pray
ready
tomorrow.
to play Ole Miss. He's like, I want them to tell me what they're feeling tomorrow. I'm not going to tell them what I'm feeling. I want them to tell me what they're feeling. I thought that was money.
Yeah. And you know what that like makes you feel as a player when your coach has that trust in you? You know, he's not out here chewing them out. He's not out here, you know, pointing out the mistakes that they made in the game, getting after the pitchers and stuff. He was like, yo, that's just how the game bounces sometimes. It is what it is. We put in the work in practice. I trust you guys to come in prepared tomorrow, and we'll figure it out. This only game one. Like, no one's ever been to Omaha after game one before. So you're going to have those ups and downs. Jim Schlossnagle knows that. He's been doing it for 24 years as a head coach. Like, it's let the guys figure things out on their own. You have enough leadership in the locker room to where guys are going to hold each other accountable and get ready to play the next day. And what they did to Ole Miss, man, yo, that should have set the whole SEC on fire. Like, oh, damn, Texas, they for real. Because Ole Miss, legit program. What, they won it 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2022?
Yeah, and they threw their stud, Riley Maddox, against Texas, and he held up for a minute. And then Texas got to him, and it was a revolving door. And they just rifled through him, and then boom. Oh, it's 10-zip, 7th inning, ball game. Like, we're in the press box. We're like, are they going to do a run rule in this tournament, or are we playing it out? And then boom, players are on the field. We're like, okay, it's over.
Yeah.
Let's get down there. And it was a non-conference game because obviously it's not part of the SEC schedule. So it was an SEC game, but it was a non-conference game. But still, you're right, Zay. It was okay. Texas just put a beat down on a program that's been, you know, traditionally a power in the SEC, and I think that did a lot for the guys. And then, especially the way that Luke Harrison pitched. I mean, 6 1/3 scoreless innings. Boom. And it was, you know, he said, I have a changeup now. I didn't have that before. And that's, you know, I've always been a fastball slider guy. Now he's got a curve and a changeup, and he had command of it all. I think the way that Schloss talked about him after the game, saying he's that crafty lefty, he said, you hope to have as a senior. Luke Harrison's a junior. And the fact that he's back, he had a good freshman year. He had Tommy John. He came back last year, struggled, ERA over 9. And the fact that he was so comfortable and relaxed and just dealing. I think Schloss came away from the weekend saying, okay, we've got a number 1 starter in Jared Spencer, and we got a number 2 starter in Luke Harrison. We'll figure it out from there. And they'll play Tuesday night, and they'll figure more stuff out. I thought, you know, they started Cade Bing against Oklahoma State. So here's what Schloss said after the game. He said, that kid is a strike thrower, but the environment got to him. You know, I mean,
it's big.
He's plunking people, he's walking people, and they're like, okay, we'll get back to this. I thought Max Grubbs was good.
Yeah, solid.
You know, but Schloss could have left him in, you know, if they were trying to win. But he wanted to see a lot of different pitchers. He got to see, you know, and the kid, oh God, the freshman, number 99. I love that he wears that. How you
pronounce his name? Dylan
Vellante.
Is that solid?
Let me. Volantis, yeah, sorry.
Volantis, okay.
Dylan Volantis. And he, you know, he showed them something because he got the hardest part of the Oak State lineup out.
Mhm.
Like they left him in to face the 3, 4, 5 hitters, and he got him out. He gave up some hits, but they wanted to see him compete, and they feel really good about Dylan Volantis. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that dude is 6'6", 212, lefty.
Damn.
Freshman.
Yeah.
Man, they've done a good job.
He looked good in the alumni game.
Right. And the guy we're not talking about is Ruger Riojas, the UTSA transfer, who probably could have stayed in the game against Louisville. Yeah, he gave up a single and a double, but he also got in a strikeout that inning. And then they went to Will Mercer, the transfer from Notre Dame, who's, throws almost 100. And Mercer's a guy they love because he's a flamethrower. He's got those Quadzilla quads. But Ruger Riojas, that's a guy who knows what he's doing. Like, he's a vet. And I said afterward, this is when Schloss like, hey, we're going to have Dre Duplantier closing games. We're going to have Mercer. We're going to have Ruger. He said Ruger can do anything. So they love Ruger Riojas. And he's a guy who loves to pitch. Like they probably extended him a little bit. I think he went 2+ innings, and normally he's like a 2-inning guy, which I don't get all that pitching coach stuff, but they haven't extended guys at this point in the season. So they just go with what they know. They go with, like they said, they've had Luke Harrison throw 75 pitches. They knew he could go that long. They haven't extended some of the other guys. So they just went with what they know. But I thought it was real positive. And I thought you had terrible at-bats in the Louisville game. Like the first 5 innings, guys are swinging at pitches over their heads. Their
first game nerves, man.
Oh my God. He's like, we had a good plan and we did not follow it. Everyone was trying to do too much. They were out of their zone, and they came back the next day. And Schloss was like, guys, we're not swinging at anything. We're swinging at our stuff. And they did. And they settled down, 10-zip. And then Oklahoma State, because Cade Bing struggled, they're down 2-zip after the top of the first. So now they're playing from behind, no problem. 14-8, huge crooked inning in the 5th, 8 runs, all with 2 outs. Amazing. And it was over and out from there. But unfortunately, there was like 10 more pitching changes, which made the game go 4.5 hours long.
So someone like you that was there, I was probably tough. I ain't gonna lie.
I was like, I got to drive home tomorrow. I got things to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, how about Baloo hitting the dead center home run?
Yo, how much power does this guy have? Because he's not the biggest dude.
He's not.
He's just raw power.
And he hit it to dead center. Like
it was nothing.
Like it was nothing. He's 6'2", 215, and Schloss said he'd lost 10 pounds. So from the sickness.
From the sickness.
Like he had a flu that wouldn't go away. They misspelled his name every time on the damn scoreboard at Globe Life.
Come on, Globe Life.
It's like the first time he came up, it was Belyu. Like Bellew. It's like, okay, he was the Big 12 player of the year. Can you spell his name right? Then the next day, they spelled it, Belyue.
Yeah, switch the E with the U, fellas.
And you're like, really? What? Can you look at the roster? Scoreboard operator?
Yeah.
But it didn't matter to Max. He just kept banging home runs and doubles, and he had 8 RBI this weekend. 8 RBI in 3 games. That's like, okay, we got stuff to work with here,
For sure.
So,
and quietly, obviously, A-Rod and Will Gasparino, Max Ballou get a lot of praise for what they did this weekend. But quietly, I thought, Tommy Farmer and Ethan Mendoza were solid. I thought they had solid outings too, just getting on base and getting RBIs when their name was called. Again, the three guys that I just mentioned before, those two, obviously the ones who stood out the most. But I like Tommy Farmer, man. I think that guy, he has a chance to be really freaking good too. And just this whole lineup, you saw Cole Chamberlain in that last game, freshman. I thought he did some good things too, getting on base and scoring a run himself. And just those freshmen, they got a lot of enthusiasm. That's also what stood out for Adrian Rodriguez to me. Like, that guy, he looks like he just straight up loves the game. Like,
Yeah.
Those are the type of guys you need. Like, cats that they don't get phased very often. They know that it's a marathon when it comes to the game. And if you love the game, then things will start coming a lot easier to you, to where you're not stressing like some other guys might, stress at. And Adrian Rodriguez, at the young age of 18, 19 years old, seems like he's got that figured out. Now, again, it's a long season. We're putting a lot on these guys early, but for what we saw, I like where this team is going in the first year under Jim Schlossnagle.
Well, and Ballou had 5 RBI. Gasparino had 8 RBI. So Gasparino batted .357 with 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and 8 RBI. So Gasparino, like I said, Schloss compared him to Jace Laviolette, who could be the number 1 pick in the draft next year. From a hitting standpoint, meaning he touches the ball, it's gone. And now they've got him locked into a stance. Like, Schloss couldn't say enough about Troy Tulowitzki, and that's probably the other thing, and we'll move on. But Tulowitzki was an add-on after Michael Early got the A&M job. Like, when Schloss did the opening press conference at Texas, I went up to him and I said, you're going to keep Tulo? And he's like, I don't really know him, and we don't really have a spot. And then Michael Early got the A&M job, and Schloss, talked to Tulo, and now Schloss can't say enough, because the thing about Tulo is he's such a junkie. He's such a baseball savant, and he's such a good infielder. He's also a silver slugger, that these guys are like, they can't get enough. That's such a great resource. And remember, he turned down the USC job. USC is one of the all-time winningest programs too. They had Rod Dato as their coach, who was the all-time winningest coach before Augie passed him. They got national championships out their backside too. And Troy Tulowitzki turned down that job because he didn't feel like he had enough experience in recruiting. And he didn't, honestly, if you pour truth serum in the guy, he didn't feel like he had the experience in recruiting from his time at Texas to feel like he could go command the job at USC. So he turns it down. And then his wife has a baby. He steps away from Texas. And then here comes Schloss. And now it's all working. I think Schloss is like, wow, Troy Tulowitzki, talk about a add-on.
Yeah.
And he gives that offense in the hitting a lot of the credit to Tula.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. You don't even have to be doing this, man.
Right.
Multi-millionaire. He should be in Turks and Caicos with his own crib, relaxing on the beach, drinking daiquiris and stuff, enjoying the fruits of his labor. But like you said, baseball junkie, he has to be on the field, has to be doing something with the game because he loves it that much and he wants to give back. Like, those guys are really rare, especially the guys that were as good as him. A lot of the time for superstars or former superstars, former all-stars and stuff, it's hard to relate to the average player just because
Right.
you were so superior in your craft. You trying to teach that, guys are like, what? It sounds like gibberish and chemistry to them. But the way that he's able to break down the fundamentals of the game, and each player is different. Like, that's why coaching is a lot more difficult than you think, because each player that you get, whatever sport it is, baseball, football, basketball, doesn't matter. Each player is different, and you got to find what that player does successfully and try to stick with that. And the next person, it might be a little different for them, and you got to figure it out for each player. And I think that this whole staff does a good job of figuring that out, man. So,
and they're big, like they're muscled up. They've been in the weight room. That's a big part of Schloss's deal. He wants bully ball. He wants the team to walk out of the dugout and the other team go, damn,
what they've been doing.
what they've been doing.
Yeah. They on that Mark McGuire? They on that Barry Bonds? What's going on?
Right.
You want him to question steroids, man. He was like, this is just.
He said they put 15 pounds on Adrian Rodriguez already.
Damn.
So he's listed at A-Rod is listed at 6'2", 210, and he came in at probably 185. So, you go up and down this roster. Grayson Saunier, who pitched last night, 6'4", 222. Donovan Jordan, outfielder, 230. Drew Rarick, who threw last night and was touching, 96, 97. I like this dude. Right-handed pitcher, 6'5", 250.
Damn.
Like, they got guys on the mound that are going to, kind of intimidate you. Maybe. So I like how Schloss is doing it. He knows what it takes in the SEC. So
yeah, eat that peanut butter and jelly sandwich at 3 a.m., fellas. Nothing wrong with that. Set that alarm. Go in, knock out that PB&J on the white bread, maybe a 2. Go back to sleep. Let that thing sit in the gut. You want to pack in them pounds, a little old school on them. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And David Pierce, I see some comments. Schloss is he's very complimentary of David Pierce. Yeah. He's like, look, Max Ballou, Jalen Flores, Will Gasparino, they're all here because of David Pierce. And he's like, there's a really good core group. Kimball Schusler. So, David Pierce, I hate it for David because I like David. I know David. He bet on himself. It didn't work out. And that's something he's got to evaluate about the pitching. He's a pitching coach at heart, and he wants to be involved. Well, you can't. If you're going to hire a pitching coach, you got to trust that pitching coach. And if you're going to take it over, man, you better be damn good, because you got to command the whole team and the pitching staff, and you kind of got to keep it separate. You can't let your frustrations as the pitching coach bleed over to the team, and that's what happened last year for David Pierce. But I like how Schloss runs it. Yeah. He had Kirk Sarloos, who's now the head coach at TCU. He had Tony, the head coach at Tennessee, who beat him.
Tony
V as his assistant coach at TCU. So he hires A's. A's hire A's. B's hire C's. And Schloss hires A's. And he's happy to give them credit. And the players seem to be energized. And so I'm intrigued to see where things go. I mean, Schloss said, look, it's 3 games. Okay. We got a long way to go. We got a lot of roles to figure out, but you could tell he was smiling. He was smiling last night.
Yeah, he feels good about these guys. He's like, okay, I got a lot to work with here.
He's
You
up
know,
there. Old Holiday over there at Oklahoma State was bitching about everything, complaining about everything out there. I mean, asking for reviews of stuff. I mean,
take
Schloss is
your ass
like,
back to Stillwater. What we doing? Game 3? We bitching already? I ain't trying to hear that.
but you know how it is. You got to beat Texas. You got to have that in recruiting. You got to have it because that's their only shot this year.
Hey,
And they couldn't get it.
see you in Omaha. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Want
Yeah.
another go around. Oklahoma State, they're good too. They got some dudes, man.
Oh, yeah.
When they were hitting, they
got dudes.
They got dudes.
They got big dudes who can throw too.
Yeah.
That number 77 and number 66, those are big fellas. They were throwing four seamers about 95 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, good weekend overall for the Horns.
See, CB, the Uncrustables, those are cool, but there's not enough feeling. Like they need like a double stuff, like an Oreo double stuff. They need the double stuff Uncrustables, especially for them athletes that are trying to put on weight. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a good ratio of peanut butter and jelly, but sometimes you need the crust too. You know,
Sometimes you need the crust.
Yeah, sometimes you need the crust. Builds character. You guys got the crust, folks.
Does Schloss actually have a pitching coach? Yes, it is Max Wiener. And Max, the players love him because he's all about keeping them loose, keeping them, light. Like he's the kind of guy that's like, here's what we're putting in our work right now. We're putting in our work. You're going to have this, you're going to have command of this, you're going to have command of that. And then we're going to work with those pitches that we know you're confident in. We're not going to ask you to do things you're not comfortable with, but we are going to ask you to throw strikes. Like we don't care. We don't want you to nibble. We want you to pound the strike zone. And if they hit you for home runs, we'll adjust. But we want you to pound the strike zone. And that's what I thought Texas did really well. Like if you go back and you look at especially Harrison and Spencer, the number of pitches they threw and the number of strikes they threw, they're getting the message. So I think that bodes well for the guys we haven't seen yet. I think like a guy like Drew Rarick, who comes in last night, 6'6", 250. He's throwing 95, 96, but he's got a changeup and a slider and a curve. A freshman from Fargo, North Dakota. That dude's going to be a beast.
Yeah. That's some kind of bag, man. All those pitches in your arsenal. And, it said a lot to me when Max Wiener went out there for Cade Bing when he was struggling. Like, Max Wiener obviously could tell, like Schloss said, the moment might have been too big for Bing. But you could see in that mound visit, like, guys were smiling, guys were laughing. So whatever Max Wiener said, you tried to loosen them up. Like, hey, man, it's just part of the game. Let's tweak a couple of things. And let's get out of this inning. And obviously it didn't work out very long for Bing, but just that type of coaching style is refreshing, because again, it's such a tense game. You need a coach that can come in and be like, yo, take a deep breath, maybe tell a little joke or something like that to get everybody calm, cool, and collected, and long game to play. It's only the first inning. So let's keep on rolling. Stick with it.
Here's Bing's day yesterday. He hits the first batter. Then he gets a fly out. Then he gets a ground out. Then he throws a 5-pitch walk. And then he hits the next batter. And then he gives up a 2 RBI single. And then he's out. So he was all over the place. But Schloss was like, after the game, he's like, this dude is a strike thrower. Is he going to be the Sunday starter? Hard to say. Max Grubbs put in a pretty good argument for himself. But we'll see. Tuesday night's going to be interesting because they play Houston, which has been a decent baseball program, and Tuesday is typically where you're auditioning your Sunday starter. So we'll see. But I think you have to feel good about Jared Spencer and Luke Harrison. And how about all the lefties in that lineup?
I know it's hard to find, especially with the quality that Texas has at that position. Like, I like it. It's going to be needed because this SEC, like how Texas first year in the SEC, every sport's good, like the whole conference, basketball, women's basketball, obviously football, obviously baseball. It's nuts out here. It's nuts. Like the SEC's rated supreme when it comes to athletics, like Big Ten who, Big 12 who, ACC huh? Like SEC is where it's at, man. Every sport. It is a gauntlet. And it's fun. Like, I love it. Like, I want it to be competitive. Like, I don't need no scrubs out here. If you're in the SEC, you better bring it. Your coaching staff better be on point. Your AD better be on point. Your recruiting better be money. Like, it's the best conference by far. And it seems like every sport. And it's a lot of fun. Like, this first year has been a blast. And I'm excited to see baseball, softball, and the basketball. I'm excited to see what it's about.
Well, real quick, we'll touch on softball, number one softball, because we did have an instant classic on Valentine's. Tegan Kavan against Nigeri Kennedy, the $1 million woman who transferred from Stanford, got $1 million to go to Tech for her final 2 years, so $500,000 per year, which for softball is unheard of. And Nigeri Kennedy is the Heisman Trophy winner of softball last year. She was the USA Softball Player of the Year. And Tegan Kavan was 2-0 against her in the Women's College World Series last year. And so there they are in 40-degree temperatures, misting rain, and they are dealing like you can't believe. I mean, Tegan Kavan, 18 strikeouts, the most since Kat Osterman in 2006. The record for a 7-inning game is Kat with 19. The record in a 10, in a plus inning game is 24 from Kat in a 10-inning game. This was a 9-inning game. Softball games are 7 innings. Kennedy's dealing. She has 11 strikeouts. And Tech struck first in the 4th inning. So Tech's up, but then Texas answers in the 5th. And then we're in the 9th. It's 1-1. And Reese Atwood and Ashton Maloney go to Tegan and say, you get us out of this inning, and we've got your back. And boom, that's exactly how it played out. Tegan Kavan gets out of the top of the 9th. And then, boom. In the bottom of the 9th, Jolie Mitchell singles, Leanne Good singles, and then Victoria Hunter hits an RBI walk-off. And Texas wins 2-1. And Kavan's now 3-0 against Kennedy. And here's the flex, Zay, because that was game 2 of this Bevo Classic. Each team was playing 5 games. So Texas, beats up on UMass, beats up on Maryland. But Texas is able to throw Mac Morgan, Citlali Gutierrez, freshman Cambria Salmon, so that Tegan Kavan is fresh and ready to go on Sunday. Tech had an unbelievable pitching performance from one of their freshmen who threw the 5th perfect game in program history. And that was great. But Tech had to roll her back out on Sunday. And Texas hammered her. Samantha Lincoln, and then they hammered her reliever, Chloe Riasetto. Like Samantha Lincoln, who threw a perfect game on Friday, gave up 2 runs on 1 hit, didn't even get an out in the first inning. They bring in Chloe Riasetto. She gives up 9 runs, 7 earned, 10 hits in 3 innings, and Texas run rules tech with Tegan Cavan on the mound, who threw 4 innings of, scoreless pitching, and Citlali Gutierrez relieved her for the final inning. They only played 5 innings because they run ruled him. So Texas's pitching, I get it. They've played 1 ranked team in Texas Tech. Texas Tech's number 8. But Texas handled their business. And I'm telling you, they got gals in that lineup who are no joke. Like, we don't even talk about Victoria Hunter. We talk about Reese Atwood. We talk about Jolie Mitchell. We talk about Ashton Maloney. We talk about Mia Scott. We talk about Katie Stewart, who had a monster Bevo Classic. I mean, she was ferocious. We don't even talk about Victoria Hunter or Caden Henry. And those two, they are clutch in every situation. I think this Texas softball team, you have to take seriously for the national championship because they returned 86% of their pitching, and they added Cambria Salmon, the number 4 recruit in the nation, who has walked out there and looked like she's a veteran.
Oh, she's ready for the moment. Yeah, she's completely comfortable. And going back to Tegan Cavan, like, that girl, superstar. Like, you saw it last year as a freshman. You're like, man, she has a chance to be one of the good ones. And she's starting off this season like gangbusters. Like, it's just so natural and putting the ball anywhere she wants, no matter who steps up to the plate. And again, I don't want to get over my skis with this softball team because you're right. They only played Tech, the only ranked opponent this year, but 11-0, they look like they're pissed off from how last season ended and losing to Oklahoma the way they did. Like, they look really pissed and like, yo, if we get back to that spot all off season, Mike White had these girls motivated to come back better than ever. And even though being number 1, you got a huge bullseye on your back, I think they relish it. And like you said, the girls that have stepped up on this team, like, that's been impressive. Like Henry and Hunter and
Caden Henry, sophomore, is batting .500 through 11 games. 11 games.
That's pretty good.
500. Katie Stewart, batting .429. She's got 18 RBI already, 4 home runs. As clutch as they come. Ashton Maloney batting .412. Leanne Good batting .406. Katie Bennett batting .400. Mia Scott, .381. Reese Atwood, who could be the Heisman Trophy winner of women's softball this year, batting .344, 15 RBI, 3 home runs already. And she's 7. She's got the 7th best batting average on the team. Like, that's how good they are. And I don't know. We'll see.
He's such a good catcher too. Like, a big reason why Mac Morgan and Gutierrez / obviously Tegan Cavan are so good is because Reese Atwood is unbelievable behind the mound. Like, she just, or behind the plate, excuse me. Like, it's just, I think she really understands every pitcher and where the ball needs to be placed for every pitch. Like, you got to have that. If your catcher's trash, then it can expose your pitcher. But Reese Atwood, she's money there, but her batting is what everybody sees. So you kind of downplay what she does as a catcher. Shouldn't do that. Like, she's really good. And I asked Mike White about it. Mike White's like, yeah, like, that girl, her leadership, and we need her to be even a bigger leader this year than she was last year. And yeah, she's running full speed with that.
Yeah, I think that showdown between Kavan and Kennedy was one of the most unsung sports highlights of the weekend.
Yeah.
You had two of the best pitchers in their game. This would be like, Bird and Magic going at it in 79. That's how good Tegan Kavan and Nigeri Kennedy are. And they put on a show in 40-degree weather in misting rain. Like, those are horrible conditions, and they're striking out 18 and 11. They weren't bitching and complaining. They were dealing. And it was a show.
Yeah.
So kudos to both of them. My God, Nigeri Kennedy gets 11 strikeouts against the number one team in the country. Kavan 18 strikeouts against the number 8 team. That's good stuff, man.
Yeah, Nigeri Kennedy, like, she get $1 million. Say what you want about that, but Stanford used the hell out of her last year. She was probably, when she was trying to get away, which again, Pac-12 coming to an end, going to the ACC, that didn't help Stanford at all. But she probably also thought, like, man, can I ever get a break?
Right.
Because her volume of being on the mound, it was a lot. And now getting paid $1 million, Tech's probably like, well, we paying you $1 million. You better be prepared whenever we call on you. But still, now that she could sit on the bench a little bit for the 8th-ranked team in the nation, you always got to look out for Tech when you got that girl on the mound. Like, she's serious. She's really good. And she has like an intimidation factor about it.
Right.
Too. Like,
she's
that's
posing.
She's scary as hell. Like, when you looking at her, you in the box, you looking at her,
she got thighs like you, Zay. I mean,
she looks like one of those could crush a watermelon with her thighs like it's nothing. Like, no, I wish I had them thighs, man.
Yeah, no, it's for real. I mean, and kudos to Jerry Glasgow, the new coach at Tech. He wasn't going to burn her out over a Bevo Classic, but the fact that Texas has all those pitchers and they all held up, all of them, they all went 5. Like, there wasn't one. I mean, it was, Tegan, it was Sitlali, it was Mac Morgan, it was Cambria Salmon, and they all went 5 innings in their starts. And then they just sprinkled in relief. And that allowed Tegan Kavan to pitch her second game on Sunday. There are not many teams, I would say none right now, who have that kind of pitching depth. And even though they don't have any lefties, because Estelle Check graduated, it doesn't matter. I mean, right now, we'll see. They're going to get plenty of tests. They got Florida. They got OU. This is their first top 10 matchup. They beat them. And so you take that and you move on.
God, Patty Gasso retire. Good Lord. Just retire. Man, go somewhere. What are you coming back for? What's the point? Oh, more motivation, SEC. I got some more juice in the tank. Like, I ain't trying to hear that. Retire. Enjoy life. She can't do it. But you know what, Chip? I want to beat her with her running the show. Right? Let's use that. If I'm Mike White, I got to beat Patty.
Right.
Give me one before she hangs it up.
That's right.
Yeah, give me one before she hangs it up.
Right. Go get you one in Oklahoma City before they start moving it around. Before Patty hangs it up.
Yeah.
Go get you one.
Go get you one.
Take the burnt orange up to OU country. Oh my God, I got to tell you this. Okay. And then we're going to move on. I promise. We got a lot of basketball to talk. The women's game was unbelievable yesterday. But Elle Bell had great seats. She's so smart. So she's 12th row, on the first base line. You're right, practically on home plate. And the press box at Globe Life is in the moon. It's 7th floor. You don't even feel like you're at the game. So she's like, we got an extra seat if you want to come down. So I'm like, hell yeah, I want to come down and experience the game. I go down there. There is this Aggie sitting behind us who is yelling the name of the Texas pitcher before every pitch. Drew! Drew! Aiden! Aiden! And I'm like, you're an Aggie. And Texas is living rent-free. He's yelling loud enough for the whole park to hear him. I don't know why they didn't tell him to calm down. Turns out he's the son of the guy who sang the national anthem.
What?
The guy who sang the national anthem left, so they had good seats, and the kids stayed and just were hell-bent to make life miserable for Texas.
How old was the kid?
It's probably like 23, 24.
Okay.
And he had an older brother with him, but the younger one was the one that was just, and literally he was sitting right behind us. And I was like, oh my God, so I just have to say that because it's like,
no,
come on, Aggies, you're better than that,
you're
right?
Not even playing. You just
Not
come
even
there to hate.
You're going there because your dad's singing the national anthem and you decide to take the opportunity to just try and heckle Texas.
Could Dad sing though?
Oh yeah, he was good.
He was good? Okay.
He should have stayed, and then he would have been, keeping his kids in line because they were fine until he left. But he left after the third inning.
Yeah.
The game went 9.
I mean, I get it. In the Jim Schlossnagle situation, they're hurt.
Yeah.
They are hurt. Their pride, then you lose in football. Trayvon Mark hits the game winner on you. It's been tough. Texas has had your number in a lot of ways. So to get any type of get back probably feels good for that Aggie. I don't respect him as an Aggie, but I respect the hatred.
He gave up after that crooked, well, no, he didn't. He kind of was still going in the 6th inning when they were down, 13-5. But
he was representing all Aggies there. He probably feels really proud.
It was exhausting because he's yelling as loud as he can, and he's literally right behind me. And then he's like, sees me on my laptop, and he's like, "Are you covering the game?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't even hear you." I didn't turn around. I didn't acknowledge him, and he didn't even.
He was trying to talk to you?
God, yeah. And he's so drunk. I'm like, oh, dude, you're a mess. I hope you get home safe. But let's get to the hoops, Zay, because, let's start with the women because that game was so good. Like, I thought they were in trouble, no doubt, down 12. And LSU they looked confident and swaggy and loose, and they were making shots, and Texas looked a little rushed and not quite as confident as they've been, and they weren't getting the ball inside. And Madison Booker was 0 of 11 in the first half, and Rory Harmon's missing everything, but by God, they kept making their free throws, Zay. 21 of 21 is the reason they won the game. That's boring. People are like, okay, tell me more. And the freshmen were outstanding. I love Brianna Preston. Love Jordan Lee late in games, man. She's a gamer. She's going to be special. Justice Carlton had some plays. Maddie Booker came alive when it mattered. And Rory Harmon hit 2 huge jumpers in the final 4 minutes of that game that I'm like, where's that been? Where's that confidence? But she was playing the 2.
And the 2. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Nick said after the game, he's like, Rory hit some big shots. She's playing the 2. I'm sure she was ecstatic about that. But I give Vic credit. Like, Brianna Preston is fearless.
She's my favorite player on the team. which that says a lot because I love this team and love everything they got going for them. But, I always say game of college basketball, men or women's, doesn't matter. If you can make more free throws than the opposing team shoots, you put yourself in a really, really good situation. They made 21. LSU only shot 19. Like you said, that was the game right there. And Vic's ability to feel the game out and understand which lineup needs to be in there, I think that's one of his best attributes, man. Because I told you after the Kentucky game, putting Madison Booker at the power forward spot, that's huge. Her versatility, even though she might not have been hitting yesterday, still ended up with 16 points?
10 of 10.
Yeah, 10 of 10 from the free throw line. What she brings to the table defensively and what she gives the opposing team when it comes to just trying to deal with her at the 4 spot. Fours aren't normally checking Madison Booker. So it will make Kim Mulkey have to adjust and maybe put a small forward on her, yet you got a power forward on someone else that shouldn't be guarding a guard that's used to guarding power forwards. But Brianna Preston, her coming in the game, she hit a huge 3 in the first half, and she looked at the LSU bench, and I thought she was going to get a tech there because some of these refs, they're real sensitive about, the Gary Payton smack talk.
I'm with you.
She looked at the bench after the 3, and I don't know what she said, but it couldn't have been good. That's my type of player.
Oh, yeah.
She'd be talking the whole game. She'd be getting her own teammates hype to where they're like, damn, Brianna, I feel you, but chill.
Here, I've been dying to ask you this, and I didn't text you beforehand. How much are we going to see that going forward? How much are we going to see Brianna Preston at the 1 and Rory at the 2? And I'm not trying to push Shea Holly out the door because Shea gives you tenacious, relentless defense. But that game was a different game.
Yeah.
LSU's got long, tough, athletic guards. They're all 6 foot, but their arm length is 6'3". And I just thought, man, is Texas going to get bullied in this game? And then Brianna Preston came in and it was
that's her type of game. That's her type of game.
Jordan Lee too.
Yeah. Yeah, Jordan Lee, she has that toughness. It's just she's not going to talk very much. She lets her game do the talking. I thought Justin Carlton was terrific starting the game, had a couple of block shots. She was fearless too.
And they made Booker better.
For sure.
Because Booker felt the pressure without them on the floor to do everything. Because no one was doing anything. I love Jack, and she got, she didn't show up for shoot around on time. So they started Justice Carlton. And I thought Jack was out of it the whole game. Yeah. And Carlton was good in spurts. But Brianna Preston and Jordan Lee just bring a different swag to the floor. And I thought they lifted up Rory and Maddie Booker when it mattered most because they're the ones. Go back and look at the beginning of the 4th quarter. It was Brianna Preston, Jordan Lee, and then Madison Booker that got that run going, that got Texas back in the game. And then they kept it going. And I was like, it wasn't Maddie Booker and then Brianna Preston. It was Brianna Preston, then Jordan Lee. Jordan Lee hit a huge 3.
Oh, huge.
And then Maddie Booker is like, okay. I got some reinforcements out here with me.
Yeah.
Kyla also came to life with them on the floor.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what do you think? How much are we going to see that? Because the final 5, when it mattered most, when it was a 1-possession game, was Maddie, Rory, Kyla, Jordan, and Brianna Preston.
Yeah. And again, it allows Rory Harmon to get a breather.
Right.
because
do everything.
Yeah, she doesn't have to do anything. She doesn't have to orchestrate the offense as much. She can play off ball a little bit, where you could catch your breath. And the way that Vic Schaefer plays, you're going to get a little fatigue because every time you score, you're in a full court man-to-man. That's a lot. That's a lot. And sometimes Rory Harmon, when the ball is in your hands, you just need a breather because even though she's good enough to play 40 minutes, you could tell with her jump shot that she could lose her legs at times. Like you could tell she's a little fatigued because she'll shoot that mid-range jumper and it'll be short.
And it's not good. It doesn't look good coming off the hand at all.
No, and it's because she's probably tired.
Right.
But Brianna Preston comes in. You run a play for Rory Harmon coming off that screen around the elbow free throw area. She knocks it down. Then she knocks another pull-up jumper off the dribble in that same elbow free throw area. And it's like, oh, I got some legs now because Brianna Preston's out here guarding the point guards and running point for us. So, yeah, this brings a different dynamic.
And I mean, this could be a moment like a mark the tape.
Yeah. And keep bringing them off the bench. Like Jordan Lee, Brianna Preston, keep bringing them off the bench. Like Pops used to tell me all the time, like, okay, starting's cool, but finishing games is more important. That means you're reliable. That means the coach trusts you in those moments. And I feel like it's taken Brianna Preston a long time to completely earn Vic Schaefer's trust. Like she's always had the fire. She's always had the passion. It's just you got to be smart, especially at the point guard spot. You got to be really smart. She had a couple of moments yesterday where like, oh, Brianna, what are you doing? Because she just gets so over emotional. It kind of could take you out of, your game instead of keeping the main thing. But when she's calm and she's collected and then she allows that fire to blend in with playing good, smart basketball, she's a force. And I thought she was a big part of the Kentucky win too. Like Jordan Lee, her defense, man, she is an elite defender. She's so hard to score on. And you're right, like that big three for LSU with Williams, Flage, and Morrow, they're tough. Morrow, she was boarding like it was not like 20 rebounds. That's 20. Insane. At 6'1", like they go up 12, and you're like, well, this is it. Like it's after being South Carolina, who got drove yesterday by UConn. Good God, like that practice that Don Staley's going to have with those Gamecocks today, I bet you that's going to be brutal. But you beat South Carolina, you beat Kentucky at Kentucky, and you got this very scrappy Kim Mulkey group coming in that has you down 12. And Vic Schaefer just
led for 29 minutes. LSU led for 29 plus minutes.
Yeah.
Texas led for 6 minutes, but they led for the final 5:53, baby.
Yeah. I'm telling you, Brianna Preston, she like Pat Beverly. Telling you. And that's a compliment. Like Pat Bev, he a little crazy, and Brianna Preston, she a little out there too, but in the best way. Like coaches love players like that. Like, okay, like, I want you to be competitive.
Right. So Rory is a senior, but she has like another year of eligibility.
Yeah, come back, Rory. I think she's coming back.
I think you got to put Brianna Preston at the point next year, and then Rory takes over for Shea when Shea graduates.
I agree. Like, and you could have a 2-point guard setup. Like, you could do that. We saw that with Scott Drew's team that won the whole thing when they had Mitchell and Butler.
Mitchell.
Yeah, Davion Mitchell and Butler.
Baylor.
Yeah, like those two.
The best player ever at Baylor in my mind.
He was so freaking good.
I mean, Vinny Johnson. I love Vinny. I don't know if Vinny won a national championship though.
Yeah, that team was loaded with Teague and all those guys, but it could work. Like having 2 point guards out there, especially
Texas has 4 point guards.
Yeah. I was impressed. And our boy Garrett Wilson was at the game yesterday. I saw his Instagram. He was at the game yesterday supporting his woman like the good brother he is. Good for you, Garrett. Support your woman, man. Support your woman. But, yeah, it's going to happen where Shea Holley doesn't have, good games. And you got to find out who on your bench could come in and give you a spark. Brianna Preston, game ball yesterday, by far. by far. She was so good. She'd be getting in girls' faces and stuff, like fearless.
And
Like
I
that's
love
a Dick Schaefer type of player.
I love that Rory Harmon after the game was pointing out the fact that Brianna Preston typically has the best plus minus of anyone on the team. Because Rory, that's a competitor. I mean, that's a person who can play your position. Mm-hmm. And I think that says a lot about this team going forward because, look, you don't think teams are going to come after Brianna Preston in the portal? Like, if she's not getting the love she deserves, like, they're going to come for her.
Yeah.
And she's a big part of your future. So you've got to make sure that she's a big part of your future.
Yeah.
And I think Vic gets it. And I think, Jordan Lee is coming. I mean, she's coming strong.
Yeah,
and
she had that 3 and hit a pull-up yesterday. And it's like, man, these freshmen, it's that 2024 class special. Really special.
So here it is. This is your beginning of the fourth quarter. Okay, so Booker hits a jumper, so I'll give her that. Then Jordan Lee hits. Texas is still losing. Then Bree Preston steals the ball from Kaylin Gilbert and goes coast to coast on a fast break and gets the building back. And that gets Texas their first lead since the 3:33 mark of the first quarter. And after that, with the building hype, Jordan Lee hits the 3. Yeah. And now Texas is up 4. The building's coming apart. There's 5 minutes left. And Booker starts to get hot because she's like, I don't have to do this by myself anymore. So she gets hot. And then Kyla hits after a steal by Brianna Preston. She feeds Kyla for the layup. And Texas is now answering everything that LSU is doing. And then Rory, they run the play for Rory. She nails it. Texas is up 5 with 2:26. Then Flau'jae Johnson hits, drives it right down Texas's throat, scores. It's 59-56. And then they run that play for Rory again. She hits it again. And now they're up 5 with a minute left. So LSU starts fouling, and Booker hits all 4 of her free throws in the final minute ball game.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I love Madison Booker at the 4. Her at the power forward position because the guards are that good. Whether it's Shea out there with Jordan Lee, Brianna Preston, obviously Rory Harmon. Again, keep bringing them off the bench because that spark means something. But also finish the game with Madison Booker at the 4 spot because Forrest can't guard her. And it mismatches everyone. Now you got a 4 guarding Jordan Lee, and that's different. Like Jordan Lee's not in the post. Madison Booker's not in the post. So you got 4 guards on the outside, and it also allows Chip for Taylor Jones or Kyla Oldegger to have more space to operate on the block.
That's right.
You got to worry about the outside so much. Even though Texas isn't a good 3-point shooting team, they're not looking to shoot the 3. Your basketball instinct says, I got to be out here because they're still capable.
Right.
I got to be out here to guard them. Oh, crap. Now Kayla Oldegger's down low in one-on-one situations. Now Taylor Jones is down low in one-on-one situations. And if help's there, then they could kick it out to the outside. And they're just so hard to guard with Madison Booker. It plays your 4th spot. And when you don't, bring that out until the 4th quarter, it's hard for the opposing team to adjust to that.
Right.
Because you're so used to playing this style with her playing the 3. It's tough. They're a tough matchup.
Well, here's the thing. Taylor Jones is playing great.
Yeah.
She's playing great. And she was the difference in the win over Tennessee. And she came up huge for them in some late game situations against Ole Miss, against Tennessee. She was Texas's most consistent player, and she's still delivering That's how good Texas is at the 5.
Yeah.
Like when you can start with Taylor Jones and she goes and gets you 11 points on 4 of 6 shootings, free throws, some blocks, steals. I mean, Taylor does it all. And then you bring in 6'6" Kyla Oldacre, who's skilled around the bucket, tough, gonna get you boards, gonna get you steals. She had 4 steals.
Yeah.
Like, people look at her and they think she's this big lump. No, she's skilled. She's got really good basketball. I mean, there's a reason Vic went and got her. She's playing on a Limp Bizkit team in Miami. They're not doing anything, but he saw her and is like, okay, we got to go spend some money on Kyla Oldacre.
Yeah, we can work with that.
And they did. And Vic knows I'm going to finish games with Kyla because she is a handful. But yeah, I agree with you. The finishing 5 in a tight game should be Bree Preston at the point, Rory at the 2, Jordan Lee at the 3, Booker at the 4, and Kyla at the 5, or Taylor, depending.
Yeah, who has the rhythm? Yeah.
I mean, they play well off of each other. Like Taylor and Kyla like each other. They're good. I mean, would Taylor like to be finishing games? I don't know. I mean, she did against Tennessee and Ole Miss, and it made all the difference in the world. I mean, she's a good free throw shooter. But let's be honest. I mean, Taylor's in her last year. Kyla's the future. We gotta, you're kind of trying to balance everything, kind of like Brianna Preston and Rory, and
Yeah. And it keeps them fresh. Like they're not playing many minutes because they come in for one another. So they're always going to be fresh when they're on the court together, especially when you play that full court defense that Vic likes to run.
What do you think that game did for Texas? That week. South Carolina at Kentucky, win against LSU after being down 12. And you beat, the current players don't know anything about Kim Mulkey, but the fans sure do. She used to own Texas when she was at Baylor.
It shows that they can play any style and win in any style of game. Depending on who the opponent is, it doesn't matter. They're going to force you to play their game regardless. Like when you can win games with Madison Booker going 0 for 11 at one point, it says a lot. It says a lot about your culture, your DNA, your toughness. And Vic Schaefer, he's finding out that, Brianna Preston, I could trust her. Once March comes around, I could trust this girl. And again, the fact that she could come in and run your point and it leaves Rory Harmon to get a breather and play your 2, huge. Because Flau'jae Johnson, man, she's so smooth. Oh, she was hitting threes. She had a layup where she didn't even put it in her left hand. She kept it in her right the whole time and just scooped it off the glass. How people don't understand how difficult that is. Like, that's just, you have to be ultimate skill level to do the things that she does. Michaela Williams, how skilled she is, the pull-up jumper, her touch. LSU's tough. Like, LSU, tough. I could see them in the Final Four easy. Like, they got everything you want. Then they had the sister Asian girl running the point. I don't know why Kim Mulkey doesn't start her. 13, what's her name? I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Last year, Poa.
Yo. She might have had 2 points, but she just brings something different to their squad. I don't know why you don't start her. I haven't watched LSU too much. They started old Day Wilson, number 50. But Poa, that girl, I'd start her. I just like her moxie. Like,
yeah, I agree.
I'd start that girl. That girl, she got some toughness. I think she's just a freshman too. Like, she got some toughness, boy. No, she a senior. She old. But I saw CB ask why isn't Texas number 1, because the only team, or they lost 2 games, but the only other team they lost to besides South Carolina, Notre Dame, they number 1. So I can't really knock that too much. But
yeah, and that's okay.
That's fine. Yeah, you don't want number one anyway.
You're number one, nowhere to go but down. I mean, this team may be able to handle it, is what we're kind of figuring out. Now they got their bye week, and they don't play again till next Monday, so they get 8 days off. That's probably what they need, because they got to find out if Aaliyah Moore is going to play. But Zay, here's my question for you. What do you do with Aaliyah Moore? Like, I mean,
I think you bring her off the bench. Maybe you start her. Like, I thought Justice Carlton and Winnetonda, they've been playing well, starting the game at that 4 spot, but I still think you finish games with Madison Booker playing your 4 and Kyle Dager or Taylor Jones playing your 5. Again, Aaliyah Moore is good. Like,
yeah,
she's
she is
really good. She's super tough.
Super tough. She'll get in your face. She's not scared.
Yeah, she's like the post version of Brianna Preston.
Right.
So, you kind of ease her back in, but when it comes to closing the game out, Madison Booker needs to be your 4.
I think we saw it. Yeah.
Like,
we saw it.
We saw it the last 2 games. Like, she's like, the Madison Booker 40 minutes, man. Like, that's crazy. I think Vic needs to find some time for her on the bench. Just a little bit. Like, it don't got to be much. Like, get her on the bench for 2 minutes right before the TV timeout. And then she could take that TV timeout and get even more of a breather, then throw her back in there. Like, 40 minutes is way too much. Yeah. She does not need to be playing the full game, because she made some fatigue mistakes, in my opinion, where she's just fouling for no reason. And it's like, come on, Matt, you're smarter than that.
Right.
You can't afford to be fouling like this. But when you're tired, you do dumb stuff. Like, if it could get her a couple of minutes out of the game where you could have in Justice Carlton, who, again, play her more. Like, I don't know why he hasn't been playing her. Like, she's solid. Like, her offensive game, it still needs work, but her defense is money. She gets steals, she blocks shots, she gets rebounds. It's just her offensive game looks like a freshman. That will come. But to get Madison Booker some much-needed rest, put in Justice Carlton for a little bit and see what happens. But overall, can't hate too much. Like, you win 4 straight ranked opponent games, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Kentucky, and then LSU. You're doing a lot of really good.
That's March.
That's March.
That's March.
Yeah.
That's like playing the SEC tournament, NCAA tournament. I mean, that's the gauntlet.
Nate, we're getting to it, bro.
Yeah, we're getting to it.
Talk the positive. Well, this is positive with Texas winning.
Positive. Bro. Lots of positive, and there's lots of positive coming. Let's get a couple mentions in here, because we'll just flow right into the chip shot and the right call from this. When you're ready for the big screen of your dreams, there's only one place to go in Austin, Texas. That's Audio Visual Consultations. My man Tom McKay's been doing it for 30 plus years. He's the pro, he's the expert. And here's the real simple equation. He's going to bring you the best price on big screens, surround sound, surveillance, electronic shades, new lighting for a room, anything audio or visual in your home. Tom McKay is the expert. He's been doing it for your favorite restaurants in Austin. He's done it for me in 3 different houses in Austin. avconsultations.com. Here's the only number you need when you're ready. 255-8678. 255-8678. You make that call, and Tom and his crew are going to bring everything to you. You don't need to be lugging around 80-inch TVs in a car or a truck, punching holes in your drywall. Call 255-8678. Tom and his crew bring everything to you. McCall Custom Homes. Look, you are thinking about doing a renovation of a bathroom, kitchen, expanded outdoor space. You want the experts, but you want someone you feel like you can trust, and someone who's going to look out for the value of your home. They're going to bring their vision, mix it with your vision, and you're going to come up with an unbelievable renovation. And that's what you want. And the key is custom. You want every detail, the floorboards, every single detail to be perfect so that when you walk into that room, all you see is happiness. That's what Mike McCall Custom Homes is all about. Check out their new website, McCallCustomHomesATX.com. I'll say it again real slow. McCallCustomHomesATX.com. Check it out, make the call, have the meeting, have the consultation, and go from there. That's all. It's beautiful. All right, and here's the other thing. Cover 3. It's All Night Happy Hour, Cover 3 tonight. Come on. I mean, hanging out with your friends on President's Day, what could be better? At Cover 3. Great food. Food's going to bring you back every time. And I mean great food. We're not talking about, oh, it's okay food. No, it's great food. Like, you're going to be like, wow, that was great. The Sean Adams prime rib sandwich. I know y'all think I'm saying that just because Sean's my boy. That sandwich is my favorite because I love red meat and I love the way that prime rib sandwich is prepared. So get into Cover 3, Anderson Lane, up in Round Rock off Old Settlers, and of course, Cover 2 at 183 in Lake Creek. Yeah. And of course, I'm very excited because I may be a guy who has a little sleep apnea happening. So I can speak with confidence when I talk about the Sleep Cycle Center. This is the only medical sleep office in Central Texas that provides the most technology, advanced care and screening, at-home testing, evaluation of airways, and treatment options related to sleep and breathing issues when it comes to sleep apnea. Their focus is to educate you on what's going on with your body, provide all possible treatment options related to your specific issue, because it's not all the same. You know, if you're snoring and you're having trouble sleeping, maybe you're doing both, then reach out to our friends at Sleep Cycle Center. They can eliminate everything from snoring to sleep apnea. And look, this is serious stuff. Reggie White died from sleep apnea. Like, if you're snoring so heavy that you stop breathing, this is a serious issue. Don't mess around. You need to get to the Sleep Cycle Center because they're the pros. They're going to take care of you, and you're not going to wake up feeling like you didn't sleep and tired every day. And this is the key. Mention Texas Sports Unfiltered when you reach out to Sleep Cycle Center. You'll receive $100 off your sleep study or weight loss program. 2 convenient locations, one in the Arboretum, the other in Lakeway. They see patients from ages 6 to 106, and they're in network with most medical insurances. Go to sleepcyclecenter.com, sleepcyclecenter.com for more information. Book your appointment. Remember to tell them you heard about them on Texas Sports Unfiltered. That's key. I want you to save some money in that situation. And Salt Traders Coastal Cooking. Listen, date night tonight, all night happy hour, Salt Traders. Best seafood in Austin. Come on. This is the seafood restaurant of Jack Gilmore, who gives you Jack Allen's Kitchen. I mean, the guy's a restaurant legend. Get in there. Best selection of raw oysters. You're getting all night happy hour, and happy hour means you're getting $5 off the appetizer menu, which has the mussels, the crab cake, the grilled oysters, the New Orleans barbecue shrimp. Come on. Get into Salt Traders Coastal Cooking. You love seafood? That's your place. Zilker and up north in Round Rock off Old Settlers. All right, Zay. We got to get to the men. So I'll do the chip shot on my thoughts on the men, and then you take it from there.
Let's just keep it all the same. I got different right call today.
Okay. Beautiful. So here's what I love, and I'm perplexed by what we saw in the win over Kentucky. Great win, Huge win, important win. You got to beat the ranked teams when they come into your place. And after getting pounded 103-80 by Alabama on Tuesday, to come up with the goods in a win over Kentucky. Here's the thing, man. Tremont Mark, like Trey Johnson, we know Trey Johnson's special. Trey Johnson going to be first round pick, whatever. But Tremont Mark can be so good. He can be so good. And he can be so determined. And he can just like hits the game winner against A&M, difficult shot. He ain't scared. And he was so big in this game. Like Trey Johnson scores a career high 32. Tremont Mark scores a season high 26. And it was like every important basket. Like these were not wasted points. They weren't all in the first. They were when it mattered. And man, how do you get that consistently? Because Arthur Kaluma is banged up. We don't know what's going on with Arthur Kaluma. I mean, maybe. And now RT said after the game, Kendall Weaver might be back. And again, I mean, you need Kendall Weaver. You need him. Yeah. But you need Tremont Mark, and you need Trey Johnson, and you need Arthur Kaluma. Those are the three guys. That's your three-headed monster. They have to be your go-to guys. They have to show up every night. You have to be able to bank on them. And even then, you're not going to have great shooting nights every night. But those guys will go hustle some rebounds, get you some assists, get you some steals, do other things, hit some free throws to make an impact. And I just thought that was a special performance from Trey Johnson and Tremont Mark. And, Jordan Pope's all over the place. Jordan Pope made some plays, but he drives you crazy. Go ahead.
Again, before the season started, I said there should be a lineup where you have Arthur Kaluma, who obviously isn't available. So in a way, this is irrelevant for these last few games. But Arthur Kaluma and Jason Kent in the same time, along with Caden Shedrick. Arthur Kaluma is a small forward. We just talked about Madison Booker playing power forward to end games for Vic Schaefer. Tremont Mark needs to be your point guard because Jordan Pope and Julian Larry, they're too inconsistent. And I don't know if it's RT looking at Jordan Pope like, I don't want you to transfer, so I got to be on your good side all the time by having you out on the court a lot. And Julian Larry, you have a lot of experience. You played a ton of games going back to your tenure at Indiana State. But those guys are just not consistent enough, and they don't bring enough. Like, they're undersized for the conference, especially with the offense that you run. You need guys that could get their own shot. Tremont Mark is that. But the ball's not in his hands enough, and it makes him defer too much because, again, Trey Johnson, he's going to get up his regardless if they're good shots or not. Love Trey Johnson's competitive spirit. I do. And it's now being used for good instead of that toxic energy that we see where he's arguing with his teammates or he's kind of losing his mind and yelling at coaches and pushing trainers and stuff. Like, we saw the good competitive nature of Trey Johnson this past Saturday against Kentucky, especially when he went up, had the shot block, got the ball back, shot up an ill-advised shot, got the rebound, and then got the and one. I thought that was a huge play for that game. But Trey Johnson and Tremont Mark, they should be your backcourt for majority of the game. You can't do that now since Arthur Kaluma's out. Like, you have to play Julian Larry and Jordan Pope at times. But I like Tremont Mark at the point, man. I just like the ball in his hands to where he could go out and just hoop. Like Jordan Pope, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have what Tremont Mark has. Julian Larry definitely doesn't have what Tremont Mark has. But you're doing him a disservice by not putting the ball in his hands enough because he can get it. He could go out and get you those buckets. He could shoot off the dribble. He could take his man one-on-one without the screen even coming. But if he's out deferring the other guys because you just have too many mouths to feed, that's not good. That's not good. You can't have him at those spots. I don't like that. On Saturday, he was like, screw it. I'm just going to go out there and hoop. What do we have to lose at this point? He has to keep that mentality, but if you're RT, you got to put him in those situations. Saturday you did. Against LSU you did. I need more of that. Devon Pryor, you could put him in the game more as he gets more and more healthy. Like, Jason Kent has been playing a lot better as of late. Like, all those guys. You could put Zirek Oyema and Caden Shedrick, put them in at the same time and have Jason Kent play your three to where Trey Johnson and Trayvon Mark are your two guards. And those guys could both orchestrate your offense when Arthur Kaluma's out the game. And again, I'm not trying to completely crap on Julian Larry and Jordan Pope, but they just, especially defensively, like they could be undersized. Like Julian Larry had such a bad turnover during that game against Kentucky. They got like an offensive rebound and they threw it to Larry and he just completely threw it to Emeka Owe for the dunk. And like he put his hands in his face and you're like, oh, this dude, take him out, RT. He does not need to be playing in this game. This is too much for him right now. But Trayvon Mark, man, the ball has to be in his hands more. The ball's going to be in Trey Johnson's hands. We know that. We know he's going to get his looks no matter what. Trayvon Mark, he's more strategic when it comes to scoring, and he's more, being so experienced, playing for Kelvin Sampson, playing for Eric Musselman at Arkansas. Like, he's trying to play a team game where that's cool and all, but sometimes you got to say, screw it. I got to go get it. I got to go to work. I got to create some offense for us. I got to be able to just take my man and be aggressive. And he hasn't done that enough. Saturday, that was his best game wearing the burnt orange, 100%. But if you have him deferring because of the other guys that you have on the court, and then, again, the matchups mean everything. When he's being guarded by other points, him at 6'4", that's a mismatch. Like when he's being guarded by 6'7", 6'8" guys, because you got Jordan Pope and Julian Larry on the court, that's I don't like that. I don't like that as much. But when he has points guarding him, he could take that. He could rise over the top of that. You could put him in pick and rolls where the big steps up, and now he could take the big and create for other guys too. I think that's something seriously that needs to be looked at if you're RT once March comes around. Having Trayvon Mark and Trey Johnson both switch off at bringing the ball up the court and then being bigger in the front court with Jason Kent and Kaluma kind of both playing the small forward, power forward position, or having Zirek Oyema and Caden Shedrick
or Nick Cody.
Or Nick Cody, yeah. Like, throw him in there a little bit. Like, I need to see less of Jordan Pope and Julian Larry. I'm sorry. I've seen enough of those guys. Like, now you're bringing Jordan Pope off the bench. Julian Larry was horrible against Kentucky. God, he was bad. And he means well. He's a mid-major player. Like, this conference, and he plays hard. He tries to make the right play, but with the offense that Texas runs, it does not fit Julian Larry at all. It doesn't. Like, he needs an old school motion, a lot of movement, a lot of pick and roll offense. And this offense is a lot of ISO ball. You got to be able to create your own shot. Like, that's why Jordan Pope struggles at times, because he doesn't, at times he just tries to do too much and it's a bad shot for him. Like, what Jordan Pope go 2 for 9?
2 for 10.
2 for 10, like, yikes.
1 of 7 from 3.
That's awful. That's not good. So, Trayvon Mark, Trey Johnson, they fit this offense a lot more than the other guys do. And having guys like Devon Pryor and Jason Kent, like, do the dirty work, that's perfectly fine. Arthur Kaluma, when he gets back, do a little bit of both when it comes to creating his own shot and the dirty work. You'll take that. But the ideal rotation that you would want here, if I were RT, would be Traymond Mark and Trey Johnson as your backcourt, and then rotating Zurich Oyema, Jason Kent, Caden Shedrick, Arthur Kaluma, and maybe Nick Cody in there. And then sprinkle in, like Salt Bay, sprinkle in a little bit of Jordan Pope and Julian Larry when you can. Like, those guys, they shouldn't play over 15 minutes right now. That's just way the cookie crumbles to me. Like, they're not giving you enough for Jordan Pope to deserve 26 freaking minutes. Like, and again, his defense wasn't bad. He had a couple of good defensive possessions, Jordan Pope did. But you're telling me that Devon Pryor can't give you that? And when Kendall Weaver gets back, we'll see how that works, because Kendall Weaver's a small guard too. Even though he's super athletic and plays bigger than his size, it's going to allow bigger players to be on Trey Johnson and be on Traymond Mark, and it's going to be difficult to score when Kendall Weaver's on the court because he's not a scorer. He's not a good enough shooter. He's not a good enough offensive player to help that much. And who knows how rusty he's going to be when he gets back.
Right.
So it really depends on where his defense is and if he could get you a spark that way. But like I told you a couple of weeks ago, like, I don't know where Kendall Weaver fits in right now. Like, I just don't. And Devon Pryor, you can tell his injury is still affecting him a little bit, but I'd still roll with him. Like, he's versatile enough in this conference. Like, did you see Alabama Auburn the other night? Oh my Lord. That was so intense. That was such an impressive game. Shout out to Auburn, Bruce Pearl, but like, that's the conference. Like, that was a national championship game right there. That's what it felt like. And if Texas wants to compete or get to the tournament and have a chance of upsetting teams, you got to play your best dogs, man. And just Julian Larry and Jordan Pope, I don't think they're earning the minutes that they're given right now. Now, again, in a way, it's a default situation where you got to play them, but you also don't. Like, you also could try Traymond Mark at the point more, and I'd let Trey Johnson bring it up. Like, he's a good enough ball handler to run your offense at the point guard spot where he could be a scoring point guard. And his passing has gotten so much better these last few weeks than what we saw early on when he was just looking for his shot and his shot only. So, again, great win, much needed win, much needed break that they're on until South Carolina comes Saturday, and you're back on the bubble in the tournament, but yeah.
Terry Palm said they got to win 4 of their last 6. Okay. This is a good start. South Carolina's the last place team in the SEC. You're going to their place. You got to handle that. And then you're back with a little bounce in your step, and you got to, take 2 more with Georgia out there. You got to go to Arkansas. So it's not out of the realm thanks to that win.
Yeah.
That win was huge. All right, let's get to the right call.
Let's get it. Before that, though, got to get to some of our terrific sponsors and mentions, like Leaf Landscape Supply. If you're looking for a full-service wholesale and retail plant nursery and landscape supplier here in the ATX, go to our guys at Leaf Landscape Supply. 2 amazing locations here in the ATX. If you're down south, go visit them off of 290 in Monterey Oaks. If you're up north, go visit them off of Pond Springs. We're looking for large quantities to fulfill any landscaping job, trendy house plants, a collection of rare plants and specialty plants. They're your one-stop shop for everything you need. So check out their website at leaflandscapesupply.com. And remember, when you mention the boys at Texas Sports Unfiltered, 10% off. You get 10% off if you mention your boy Zay Collier and TSU. Can't beat that. Leaf Landscape Supply, and Covert BK, family-owned, operated automotive dealership that have been doing it in the greater Austin area for over 100 years. They're so good. They got my wife and I to buy from them, and it was such an easy process. My man Marcus was absolutely terrific. He didn't pressure us. He didn't make us feel like we had to buy that day. We went home, we regrouped, we talked and analyzed things. And my wife, she's a tough cookie, man. She has all her notes and stuff. I was just along for the ride, and Marcus and the crew, they answered every question for us. It was just an easy process. We got our Buick Encore GT, and we couldn't be happier. And they got 7 other terrific brands to choose from. Well, 6 other terrific brands to choose from besides Buick, like GMC, Ram, Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler, and Cadillac. If you want to see all 7 terrific brands, go to their website at covertbk.com and check out the latest specials and inventory. Nobody beats a Covert deal. Not now, not ever. All right, Chip, for the right call today, I just got to discuss the very disappointing, sad, pathetic, lethargic NBA All-Star game that I saw last night. I don't know if you got a glimpse of what happened, but Adam Silver, he changed up the format and how it's operated. And there were 4 teams of 8. Well, one of the teams had 7 because LeBron James all of a sudden decided that he couldn't play in it. For one, LeBron, 20-something All-Star games, I think 21 to be exact. He's on year 22. A crazy stat. Like, it just shows his greatness. But, Bron, you ain't going to play. You know that. So instead of waiting till Sunday to let somebody know you're not playing, maybe do it earlier in the week so someone who got snubbed could take your spot. He didn't do that, so Shaq's team only had 7 while the rest of the teams had 8. But one of the teams was the winner of the Rising Stars game, which is only rookies and sophomores. So they're playing on Sunday against the All-Stars like Stephon Castle, who I love. That dude's an absolute star, and he did his thing in the dunk contest, but Mac McClung, the former Texas Tech Red Raider, he's out here jumping over cars and shit. So, like, well, you can't beat that. Like, a dude jumping over cars, and he's white. Let's keep that real. Like, if you're a white dunker with that athleticism, you get extra praise because you ain't supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to be out here like Larry Bird and Danny Ainge and guys like that. Like, white boys don't got bounce like that.
Like Rex Chapman.
Yeah, Rex Chapman had bounce. Like, you can't sleep on Rex Chapman and Bob Sura.
McClung is not long.
Yeah, he's not long either. Like Dan Marley, Thunder Dan. Like, there's been some really good white dunkers. Tom Chambers, the list goes on. But Mac McClung did his thing. That was probably the bright spot of All-Star Weekend. But the rising stars like Keontae George and all of these, Dalton Connect playing against Steph and Harden and KD, it just looks bad. And Adam Silver, his thought process was, I'm going to bring these rising stars in here because they're going to play hard, right? They're going to make the game more competitive. Wrong. Those guys are NBA players too. They know I can't go out here and hurt the guys that make the league. Like, that's why they don't play hard. These guys are worth way too much money. This game means nothing. So why am I going to go out and exert so much energy to where I get injured and I'm not available for my respective franchise when I am the franchise? That's stupid. Like, that's just dumb to me. They need to have it at the end of the season like the Pro Bowl, which we know how watered down the Pro Bowl is now that they're playing flag and all that stuff, which, again, makes sense. Guys are worth too much money to be getting laid out and, decleated on the field.
Sean Taylor.
Yeah, Sean Taylor out here hitting the punter and stuff. It's just a bad look. So there's no answer to the All-Star game at this point. Like, in the 80s and the 90s, when it was competitive, like, that was a cool time. That's past. That's not a thing anymore. Bringing in these rookies and sophomores, it looked bad. It looked really bad, Chip. I was so disappointed. And they're playing the 40, so there's no game clock. So one team, the first team that lost, because it's like a tournament setup, like since there's 4 teams, 2 teams play, and then the Rising Stars play the all-star team, and the winner of those games get to advance to the championship. So the first team that lost that were actually all-stars, they were done for the night. Like, make it a double elimination or something, kind of like what we see in college baseball. Like, make it like that, to where you have to win 3 games. You know what I'm saying? Like make it like that. And it was bad. It was awful. And I don't know how they fixed the All-Star game, to be determined, but I think they should have it at the end of the season instead of this midway point. And yeah, back to the drawing board if you're Adam Silver and the rest of the NBA big time suits and tie folks that make all the decisions.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. All right, let's bring in the fellas, Patrick Davis and Zeke. I mean, what's up, fellas?
How you doing, guys? First of all, I will say, I like the Rising Stars. I was a fan of it. That was the only game that was worth watching out of all of them. But I'll also say, if you want to get mad at one thing of that, no one that is on that TNT crew should ever be allowed around All-Star Weekend ever again, because watching an entire 4-hour broadcast of everyone on TV telling me this sucks, don't watch. Hey, these young stars, they shouldn't be here. Young stars don't matter. Old stars don't matter. They don't want to play. This is a worthless game. Turn your TV off now. Was 4 hours of that.
Yeah.
And then they got Kevin Hart just screaming at me.
He was horrible.
Like, dude, Shay's on the court, turned around and goes, shut up and start the game.
Yeah.
Not one person paid to see you. Let's play. So they was not good overall, but I think there was positive because it made the players realize the NBA is not going to settle for them not doing anything.
Yo, huge Kevin Hart fan. That was the worst I've ever seen Kevin Hart.
Oh, I think he was drunk. I really think he was drunk.
I've never seen him be that unfunny.
Yeah, I think he was drunk. That, like, halfway through it, I was like, oh, this is what happens when you're drunk. This is when you're no longer thinking. So we got all that. We'll talk about it a little bit, but look who's my co-host today here at Open Gym. Come on.
We'll get out of your way so that we can hear what y'all have to say about the Texas baseball weekend.
Man, it is going to be a fun show. Who better to talk Texas baseball with than the lifetime Longhorn legend himself, Greg Swindell. So we're going to have a fun time here on Open Gym. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you back tomorrow for more.
Appreciate you.
And let me introduce everybody to Open Gym coming back our second week. Do we have audio yet from Greg Swindell? Can he hear us? Can we hear him? Do we got him? I don't think we have audio from you right now. And I don't think we've got audio figured out yet. We'll see if we can get him set up with some audio. If we can get somebody working on that end for it. We do have audio on our end. So if we can get that figured out, we'll try and get through the technical issues right now. Let me text somebody real quick. On the show today, we'll get through it while we get Greg set up right now. We've got some people working behind the scenes. We'll try and get somebody to get the IT stuff done, and we'll get the lifetime Longhorn legend up and rolling with us. But on the show today, of course, a lot of Texas baseball talk. We will get into the opening weekend, the best weekend they have had in Arlington. So it was fun to watch that and see this Texas team, the great weekend of Texas sports all around. Texas basketball wins in men's and women's. Softball is dominating, and Texas doesn't lose another coach. We'll get into all of that as well. We may talk a little bit NBA All-Star Weekend, what you can do in that world as well. We have a gift. We're giving away a $50 Cabo Bob's gift card during the show today as well. All of that coming up to go. Maybe we'll get into some MLB stories. SNL 50 was this weekend too. Lots of stuff that was happening all this weekend. And we'll get into all of that as we try and figure out how we can get Greg set up here in just a minute. I appreciate everybody joining us and being patient as we try and set this up. What's really fun is me and BK will give a little background that BK and I were setting up the show. We want to bring on a lot of different people and get special guests. And so it worked out today. Greg Swindell is going to be on. We just got to get a couple things set up as that happens every once in a while to get him on. Let's see if we can add him back. And if we have Greg at all, can you hear me now? No, still nothing from. I cannot hear you, Greg. Okay, you can hear me. I cannot hear you. We cannot see where your setting is. I think we got BK working on it in the background. So I think we have, we're trying to get him set up real quick. We'll go on. By the way, the code of text line is up 512-222-9328. And the chat is open on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. Wherever you're watching it, we appreciate you joining us here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. We did get Gringo Horn saying hey to Zeke in there. And Rob says SNL was better than all the NBA All-Star game, and the Four Nations for NHL has been a much better product. The NHL one is crazy because for NHL, those guys want it, like they want to be there. It is a prototype of All-Stars for now because they wanted to play. The Four Nations concept works great. Unfortunately, I don't think that would work in NBA the same way. We can get into it a little bit later. But yeah, the SNL was actually a pretty decent watch going through there. The SNL, I watched All Star Live because I didn't want the spoilers, and then I went to watch SNL, and we'll see. Let's try this real quick and see if we can get this to work. We'll go here, and there we go. Now we can hear Greg.
I can hear you.
Hey, we can hear you, Greg. There we go. Let's start the show right this time. We got you on. I know there's some technical issues. We're all living in the new world where we can do this from our house, but then we don't have people that make it work for us before we get there. Before my first show, I did plenty of prep and had to test this like 20 times to make sure the setup worked. But as we say, the legendary lifetime Longhorn, one of the greatest players ever for UT at Texas baseball, is joining the show today. So please welcome Greg Swindell. Happy to have you here at Open Gym. Greg, how you doing today? No, did we lose you again? I can hear you. I can hear background.
You can't hear me?
I can. It's cutting in and out a little bit, but I hear you right now.
Yeah, you keep cutting out on mine. No, I'm good. I'm happy to be here. I hope it straightens out.
Hopefully
2 hours
get it going. Yeah, but no, I appreciate it. There's been a big weekend of Texas baseball. We did start off finally getting into Texas baseball this week, and it's a season. New coach. Everyone is excited about it. I feel like after this weekend, expectations jumped a little bit more even. Expectations were pretty good, but everyone's a little hesitant, especially because it was Arlington, and we know how those starts have been, that I think everybody's a little hesitant. No one wants to put, the world on Schlossnagle's shoulders right away. So you say, okay, maybe let's temper expectations. It was a really good weekend other than what? A half inning? A couple of pitches? If you
basically one pitch.
You take one pitch away, and it's a great weekend for Texas. Let me get your initial just thoughts going on just this weekend. Where are you going initially of what you saw and what you think of just that team that you saw this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you're winning 2-0. You got 2 outs in the 9th inning, and you need one more out to break the curse in Arlington or any big league stadium for that matter. They had lost 12 in a row in major league stadiums. So, and then that happens, and you lose an extra innings, and you're thinking, oh no. But I like what Coach Schloss said after the game. He goes, he wants to see how they react the next day, which was against Ole Miss. And they went out and threw up a 10-0 shutout. They run-rolled Ole Miss, so they came back. He was happy to see that. I mean, the bats were alive, the bats were hitting, but I'm really impressed with some of the arms I saw on the mound. I hadn't seen them. I was up there at the alumni game, and you didn't see the big dogs. You saw the other guys throwing, but Jared Spencer, my gosh, I mean, this guy can bring it. I mean, he's throwing 98 from the left side, and he knows what he's doing. He knows how to pitch. I love the arms I saw. I like the arms coming out of the bullpen. And Max Weiner, he said at the beginning that he's going to try to, pound the strike zone. We want to throw strikes. We want to get the ball over the plate. And that's exactly what they did all weekend. They had a few walks here and there, but for the most part, I like the pitching staff. I mean, they played well enough to be 3-0, to come home 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, we'll start with the pitching staff for this team. They come back 3-0. We did see that there is no day 3 starter yet for Schlossnagle. He goes kind of a bullpen game. Cade Bing starts. He only pitches 2/3 of an inning, so we don't really see him as a true starter coming in. I know he started games before, but he did not come in as a starter there. They basically run a bullpen game. They still get the win. They still play well enough. Is that a concern at all going in to week one that you don't feel you have that third guy yet? Or is maybe the third guy you trust on a Tuesday and you're not sure you want to put him on a Sunday? I don't know where you look at going to a bullpen game, start off, no injuries, ready to go.
Right. When in doubt, throw a left-hander, huh?
Yeah.
You haven't seen that too much at Texas in a long time. I had a couple of left-handers on my staff with myself, but I mean, I don't think it's any concern right now. You do kind of look at it sometimes and go, all right, we got Friday, we got Saturday, and I mean, we're the University of Texas. We shouldn't have a to be determined on Sunday. We should know who's going to be pitching.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's been for a long time. But the last couple of years, it's been kind of the same thing. But I think what I saw a lot of arms, capable arms. I think Max Grubbs came in and threw the ball well for just a little bit, and he could be that third guy. You're going to go through this week. You got 5 games at home. I think we'll find a lot on who that third starter. I mean, you're going to need a fourth starter as well. So there's capable arms. It's just who's going to fit in where.
Yeah, and I mean, that's where I've seen it, where if you're going to throw a bullpen game, you'd expect that one to be Tuesday maybe. You'd expect maybe to put him around where you're not worried about, using those relievers on a Tuesday. I don't know. The concept of just shifting it around seems odd, but maybe it's a different technique. Or maybe it was something where he didn't want to stick a pitcher out there at a major league park. And, however that setup was, that he felt they weren't ready that day. I don't know. I'm just trying to find a reason, because it seemed odd that he didn't announce one. It seemed odd that his response was that we haven't decided, no one's earned it yet. And then he just said no one earned it, so I'm not giving it to anybody.
Right. And I think everything got screwed up when your starter goes 2/3 of an inning. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
It shouldn't be a bullpen day if he goes 3, 4, 5 innings. So that kind of messed things up. And I think we saw what Schloss is going to do. I mean, he got him out of there after 2/3. Moffitt comes in, walks the guy. He's out of there. So he's not going to stand for guys, especially, I mean, you say it's the third game of the season, but it was a pretty big game. You're playing Oklahoma State. You're trying to win the series 2 out of 3 in Arlington. And if you're not going to throw strikes, you're not going to pitch. And so that's what they're trying to get in these kids' head is get the ball over the plate. It doesn't matter if they hit it. Let them hit it out of the park, especially when you're up 13-2 or 13-5.
Yeah.
Throw strikes, get the ball over the plate, and we'll see a lot of that from Coach Schloss if they don't come in throwing strikes.
Yeah, I think, and I mean, it's a great attitude when you have the hitters that they have, and you have that world where you can say the bats, you have to trust the bats are going to be there. And I know historically they have not always been in this team the last couple of years, but you have to say, trust us that we're going to get the bats where they need to be. They were there for most of the weekend. So if you say, trust our bats, we'll get you there. But if you start trying to throw a perfect game every time, you're going to start walking people, and it's going to get us into trouble when you have to throw the strikes. I like the concept. It's a newer, more aggressive approach. We see now that Texas, it works out. They should have gone 3-0 in the weekend. They go 2 for 3. Let's talk a little bit about the offense before we start to get into more kind of an outlook. But let's talk a little bit about that offense. Max Ballou coming back. He goes 8 for 14, 6 runs, 5 RBIs, 2 doubles, 2 home runs, a walk, and a stolen base. I mean, he came out firing, ready to go. Is this the Max Ballou you expected to see come out playing really this season and showing what he can do with the new coach?
No, he's the real deal. I mean, it doesn't matter who's coaching. Max likes to hit. He's a good right fielder, and he has a strong arm in right field. So he's been ill the last couple of weeks, so he hadn't really been doing too much.
Yeah.
So you didn't know what to expect from Max coming into the weekend. And well, Max is being Max. His freshman year, I saw this kid, and I think he only got about 10 or 12 at bats all year, and the game was too fast for him. But I shook his hand, and I thought he was going to break my hand. I'm like, his hands are strong. He's big. If he gets an opportunity, he's going to do something. And last year, I mean, he get on my back. I'm going to carry you, and MVP or most of your best player in the Big 12, and hits for power. I mean, that ball he hit the center field in Arlington. Big leaguers don't hit the ball that hard. I mean, he hit that ball on a line, 420 feet off the back wall, and he can do it all. He's got decent speed, but he's got a really good arm and right, and the bat is amazing. I mean, especially to start the season out. And those three, you had A-Rod, you had Gasparino, and Max. I mean, Texas had 15 extra base hits on the weekend, and they had 14 of them. Just those 3 guys. So it's only 3 guys who are doing a lot of the damage. So other guys are going to get into the mix. But that was a huge weekend for those 3 guys.
Yeah, no, Will Gasparino, yeah, he had 8 RBIs, 2 doubles, a triple, and 2 home runs in the weekend as well. When you're getting the doubles, triples, and home runs, you're just using every bit of playing in a major league park. So we'll use every inch of it. I do want to get a little bit into this as we get into kind of where Texas is, that, you talk about A-Rod there and what the freshmen are looking like for Texas and some of these young guys coming up and what they could be doing. He goes 4 for 11, 2 doubles, 2 home runs, has a little bit of a strikeout problem. We can talk about that too, because Texas struck out a ton this weekend, which I know is a new world of baseball, but which it's probably not even new anymore, but it's the world of baseball that none of us grew up with. But we saw A-Rod. Is this guy going to be a legit all season long? You better watch out. This is just the beginning.
No, it didn't phase him. I mean, it's pretty much a big stage. You're in a tournament against nationally known teams. I mean, I think Oklahoma State might have been the only. Clemson was a ranked team, and it didn't get to him. I mean, third base, it might have sped up a little bit for him a couple of times, but at the plate, I mean, this dude's a natural. I mean, he's got a sweet swing. He showed it all weekend. I think he's going to be at third, and I did. I wrote it on my pad. The 40 strikeouts in 3 games is a concern, because that's a lot of strikeouts. But when you're putting up 14 and 12 runs, I mean, you don't really worry about it. But what happens when you face a Mississippi State or an LSU and you're not going to get 15 runs a game? You better put the ball in play a little more often. That's always been a concern for me. Texas teams historically strike out a lot, at least the last few years. But when you're winning, you don't worry about it. It's when you start to struggle and lose a couple games and you start to press a little bit. But I think for the most part, leave them where they are for right now. And SEC conference tournaments coming up. I mean, not tournament, just play less than a month away. So you got to get ready, and you don't have much time to do it. Normally you have a little bit more time, but with the SEC conference schedule, they get after it right away.
No, it's good to see. But yeah, they struck out 16 times on Friday. And that was, I mean, Louisville was pitching pretty well. Ole Miss did not pitch well. I mean, that's a 7-inning game, and you strike out 11 times in that. So probably would have been a couple more, 13 times on Sunday. It does feel, and especially I think, we saw the top of the order clean it up a little bit on Sunday. On Saturday, I believe they had 7 combined strikeouts in the first 2 games at the top of your order, which you never want to see to start your game, having some major strikeout candidates. Is not great to see. I think that will get worked out a little bit more as you get into the season. It feels like this is, Schlossnagle trying to work out some of the bad habits and get back to, don't worry about it, swing the bat, find where the ball is, take the pitches you want to take, and then on the other side, get the ball in the strike zone, throw strikes, and let's just get back to that, and we can add in all of the fun parts later and everything else where we start to feel it a little bit more. But you guys don't have the trust because the guys who've been playing necessarily haven't been playing at the level they need to be playing at. So going forward now, we look at this team. They play again on Tuesday. But what you saw out of this weekend, did that raise your expectations for the season, or was that basically what you were expecting anyway?
I wasn't expecting it because they never play good in Arlington. I wasn't expecting them to win a game because they haven't won in Arlington. So but once I think they got the monkey off their back and won that game, they run rolled. I mean that's big against Ole Miss. Yeah. And once that happened, they got comfortable. It's easy to get ahead of yourself in games like that early in the season, and I think that's what. That's why you don't worry about it now. The swinging at the high pitches. I tweet stupid stuff every once in a while, and all I tweeted was lay off the high fastball, and everybody knew what I was talking about. I mean, because it's one thing to be excited, but eventually you have to lay off that high fastball unless you can catch up with it, which most of the time you can't. So I think this team is going to be okay. I think they're really good right now, and it's going to be a grind. I don't know. Big 12 is a good baseball conference, but right now the SEC is a monster, and they're going to have to be ready. Coach Schloss has coached in it already, so he knows what it takes to win and in the weekend grind in the SEC. This team has a lot to go out and prove, and they're going to catch a lot just because of the way Coach Schloss came to the University of Texas. Now, when they go on the road, they're going to hear it. And that's one thing you're going to have to learn as a player, just to not listen, not hear those people, take it in a way where, a positive where, well, they're going to boo me. They're not going to boo me. I'm going to show them, and you don't have to prove anything. Just go out and be yourself. But it's going to be a tough season, a tough grind, and it's a good start. They're 2-1 and went to Arlington and won a couple games, and that should be a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a team that, going into the SEC. We know the difference is in the Big 12. You used to have those kind of series where you thought, okay, we can catch up now. And if we're 4 or 5 games out, we got 2 series back to back, we should be able to catch back up in the Big 12. It doesn't feel like the SEC is going to have that. So it is you can't start slow, because it's going to be really hard to catch back up at all throughout the season, because every week feels like it's going to be a challenge. And I think you're dead on that it's going to be a rough season, that you're already dealing with the fact that you're the new kid at the SEC table. So you're the new kid coming in. So everybody wants you to have to pay your dues and fail to get there. You're the big dog of one of the major schools in the country. So people already don't like you because you're Texas. And then you add in the fact that you have added a coach that you stole from another team and everything that goes through that. And Schloss is already not the most beloved coach in the world across from other people. So this is definitely feels like it is going to be a year where those players are going to get battle tested on the road. When you were playing, could you take that and feed off it? Or is there a point where you have to not even try and feed off it at some points, just ignore it? What's your go-to when you get in a situation that's extremely hostile, and it may not even have anything to do with you? It's extremely hostile.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of places in the major leagues that are like that. And I remember Kurt Schilling in the 2001 World Series. He said, I can't wait to make 55,000 people just sit down and shut up. And that was his motivation. Don't let them get a lead. Don't let them stay in the game. I mean, go out, shove it, and then they can't say anything. And if they do, they're just showing what they are. I mean, you go out and win and play well, but it's really, you get a lot off of that when you go into an opposing team stadium and play well. You don't have to win, just play well. Just don't make it a blowout. Don't get run ruled. Play the ball. Play good baseball. And I think it's easier said than done, obviously. But these players they're going to find out. I mean, the first SEC road trip is to Mississippi State, so it's less than a month away.
Yeah, no, you got to get it going early, and yeah, it'll be all season long. Now we talk about, we didn't see a ton of depth come out of it. We saw the bullpen come out for sure. But offensively, is this a team looking forward that you feel that there's going to be some depth on this roster now, that if you do maybe have an injury or two, or if you do have somebody slumping, is there some players on this bench that you feel, you got a bunch of freshmen. We talked about A-Rod coming in. Is there a little bit of depth on this roster more than there maybe have been in the past few years?
I think there is. I mean, Casey Borba played a lot last year, got one at bat, I think, over the weekend. He's a good bat. He can play first. He can play third. He can play any infield position. They got the young kids. I don't think you need to worry about them. I think they're going to see what Jalen Flores is doing, what Max Blue is doing. Gasparino, he's only a sophomore, but guys are going to look up to those players now, because they just did it over the weekend. And what I saw this team this week, it was a lot of energy. I mean, it was electric. And from the clapping before the last out, I mean, just a team that kind of came together. And I think it just looked like they were ready to get a different opponent on the field and see what they could do. So I'm not concerned about the depth. You just want to stay healthy. And I think they got the personnel to do that. They have so much stuff now to keep guys in the game. We didn't have much back in the day, but these guys, they're going to stay healthy. And if they go down, you just have to be that person to step up and be the next guy and be ready. You always have to be ready. The good teams that I played on, everyone knew their role. Everyone knew, if he goes down, it's going to be me. I might not get an at bat for a couple of weeks, but I need to keep my reps going. And that's what the guys have to do. You have to stay prepared.
No, and I love that theory. All right, we talked a lot about the goods. What did you see out of this weekend, and what do you see on this team that may be some of the weaknesses and some of the things that need to be worked on throughout the season, or just are going to be an issue because we know every team has them? What do you see from Texas right now that kind of makes you worry a little bit?
I mean, after 3 games, it's really tough. I mean,
I know.
to say anything bad, especially when you should have come out and been 3-0. If Mercer makes a better located fastball, they probably win that game and shut out in their first game. So it didn't happen. I think it's too early to even worry about that now. I think a lot will tell us these 5 games. You got U of H, you got Dartmouth, not taking anything away from them, but Texas should stack. I mean, these games shouldn't even be close. These next 5 games, and hopefully they can score a few runs and get those other guys in the game, get them a couple at bats against the Dartmouth and teams like that, to where you can get your feet wet and get your uniform dirty, and then you always got to want to feel like you're part of the team. Not just never playing. You want to feel like you're part of the team, and I think these next 5 games will tell a lot about that.
Oh no, that is always huge in every sport. Those early season and preseason, when you have guys that don't get in because your team's not. You're like, this is a worry because our starters aren't good enough to even let the bench get in. So I have no idea if the bench is not getting in, how bad they're practicing or whatever else. So hopefully we'll get to see some of that this weekend. I do want to mention to everybody out there who's joining us, we appreciate you. The code of text line's open 512-222-9328. And the chat is open as well. If you have a question for Greg Swindell about Texas baseball or MLB or anything else you want to throw out, we'll be going to those throughout the show as well. Since, when you have a legendary lifetime Longhorn joining, you gotta open it up to the people as well. So if you guys got any questions, feel free to throw them in there. I want to get into the expectations. We talked a little bit about this last week on the show. I've been asking people about the expectations. I remember last year kept asking throughout the season about Pierce because we knew he was on the hot seat. And so I kept asking listeners, where is your level of expectations of a Texas baseball coach? And then a new Texas baseball coach coming in, trying to change the culture a little bit, change things up. You see a first weekend, you already saw a change because they won at Arlington. So as small of a change as that is, it's really nice to see as a Texas fan. But what is your expectations going into this season? And is this a very much okay, we're an Omaha team, and I know you may not hit it this year, but you got like a 2-year window to get to Omaha? Or is there a little bit more of a learning curve? We just need to get to regionals, super regionals, and we'll play it by ear if, maybe an injury or maybe something happens. But this is is it host a regional? Is it make it to a super? Is it make it to Omaha? Where do your expectations sit where you say this is a great season, good season, or you just did well enough?
National championship. Come on.
Well, yeah, always.
No, I mean, that's what you think, and that's what you dream about, is making it to Omaha and winning a national championship. But I mean, we keep talking about first year in the SEC. It's not going to be easy. There's nothing easy about it. A lot of these guys, I mean, they've played SEC teams, but they haven't played the full conference schedule to see the grind. I mean, they're going to have number 3 in the nation, 8 in the nation, 1 in the nation, and 10 in the nation and come to Austin, and they have to go to 18 and 4. So, I mean, almost every week you're playing a ranked team, and I really feel the players, it just takes a little confidence. It takes a little confidence. If they can win these 5 games and then eventually start out well in SEC play, you start to see, wait, we went to Starkville and played really well. We went down to Missouri and Kentucky and played those guys good. We are good. So that it just takes confidence, and every player out there wants to go out there and do their best every day. And I really think they can make a regional. Can they host? I really thought they could have last year, but things didn't work out towards the end of the season. And they're a good team. Schloss isn't going to let them go. Wiener's not going to let them go. Kane's not going to let them to get away from themselves, because they've been through it. They know exactly what it takes. And as a player, you have to listen to that. You haven't been through this conference once. You've been through other conferences and played different schedules. So listen to those 3 or the entire staff and take it to heart, because they've been through the grind and they know what it's going to take. And Schloss, I mean, you already saw him drop Jalen Flores a little bit in the lineup. I mean, because he was pressing, drop him a little bit. He got a couple base hits. So those lineups are going to change, and Schloss is going to move things around. But I'm like what I saw this weekend out of the offense. I mean, you had arms coming in. I rolled them down. Spencer, 97 and 98. Mercer, 97 and 98. Ruger Ross, 95, 96. You haven't seen arms like that around Austin. You saw some 92s, 93s, but nothing in the upper 90 caliber. So that's what I'm excited about. And I had good numbers when I was in college, but also if you go back in the record books, we had some of the best offenses in Texas history
Yeah.
when I was there. So I never took credit. We scored runs, we did this. They scored runs, and it was easier to pitch when you're up 7-1, 7-2, 8-2. So let the offense do the work, and those arms. Thomas Burns got 2 outs, throwing 98 miles an hour. So I mean, these are some arms that should get a pitching coach giddy. And they have Max Weiner, who's one of the best out there, who's fun to talk to, and talk to me a little bit at the alumni game about just strike one, pounding the zone, and that's what we're trying to get into him. And I told him, I said, well, thank you, because sometimes the last few years it hadn't been there. So it's going to be a pleasure to watch. And I just like the attitude of everything that's going on.
No, I mean, and that is, it's the attitude, it's a change where a lot of this season feels like it is. What's the buy-in from everybody? Because it is a major difference of David Pierce basically cut the staff down. He took everybody out and said, this is my ship and I'm the guy you listen to. And this feels like, okay, now there is a pitching coach back in there who is going to be able to go in and change things up. You know, no one's going to be able to. You get Tulo back in there, who's beloved in that locker room. It feels like it's just such a change of, you know, you still need to buy in. You got to trust us. You have to believe in what we're doing. But at the same part, you're able to go to your coach a little bit more, and not everything has to flow directly through the head coach. It can take a path through it, which is just huge to have in sports. You know, I'm not talking bad about David Pierce. It seemed like the job was a bit much for him by the end, that he kept trying to change it. What is a big change you see in this coaching staff and the style of how they're affecting the players, when it just got whittled down so much by the end there by David Pierce, and now you bring in fresh air?
Well, I always said that every winning team, every winning manager has a good coaching staff, and you trust your coaching staff. And I've been on teams where we didn't see the manager all year, but a coach would come talk to us, and that's the biggest thing. The head coach, the manager, trusts his pitching coach. He trusts his hitting coach. So they talk to the players about that part of the game. Schloss talks to them about the entire part. You know, what we could have done here as a team, what we could have done there. He trusts Troy Tulowitzki. Why wouldn't you? Guy's a perennial big league all-star. I've been around Troy a few times, and he wants to win. He still wants to be out there as a player and win, and he's trying to instill that every day. You know, screw that other team. Screw that other team. We are Texas. I mean, we are so blessed to have Troy Tulowitzki. I mean,
100%.
and we thank Austin Street for that, for bringing him in and having him be his neighbor. And now he's a paid coach and wants to stay there. So, and Max Weiner, renowned pitching coach. Schloss has been with him. He knows he doesn't have to worry about if the guys are getting their work in, the guys are getting their throwing in, if the guys need talking to. I mean, eventually Jared Spencer's going to need a talking to. Luke Harrison will need a talking to. Everybody needs a coach in their ear every once in a while. Not too much, just enough. And that's the big thing. Schloss trusts his coaching staff, and coaching staff trusts Schloss. So, and the big thing for me is a couple of them stuck with him.
Yeah.
They stuck with him. They could have said, you know, I'm like Mike Early. I'm going back, but they stuck it out, and we as Longhorn fans, we appreciate that. We got their back 100%, and I am excited about what I saw this weekend. I'm excited when I talked to them at the alumni game, and the players. Like I said, it was some energy on that team. Yes, the first 3 games, but there's a lot of energy. You can see a lot of camaraderie there with the players.
No, and that's kind of what you want to see, is this be more of, it just felt there was parts of being around that team or seeing the team at least, you know, last year where it felt more of everyone trying to hang on a bit, where it was always trying to catch back up and not being where you were trying to go. And now it feels like a fresh start. And for a lot of the players that are still there, it feels like this fresh start of, you know, we've done it before, but yeah, you see a Max Ballou and Will Gasparino, and those guys have great games where they just feel they looked a little bit looser. It looked a little bit more like they were just playing baseball instead of this cloud that was hanging over the whole team all season long, which it wasn't what you said earlier. Now they're playing for a title right now. And it didn't feel like they were playing for a title last year. It played like they were trying to just do enough to make sure that they didn't all lose their jobs. And you can't win if everyone's just trying to keep their job. as opposed to coming in and saying, no, we're building a championship roster and you guys are a part of it. It just feels like there's a very different vibe around Texas baseball right now, the energy and everything. There's a lot more hope than there was a year ago. And, as much as, they weren't bad before, but it wasn't what Texas needs to be. And you nailed it on the head. When you say a national championship, that was the theory for Texas, or that was a statement for a long time. That's why there's a lot of statues of head football or head baseball coaches outside of the arena stadium, because that's what it was. That's Texas baseball. And it feels like right now, this is the start of, okay, let's at least have that mindset again. Do you feel when you were at the alumni game, is that the mindset now is this is national championship baseball team? We may not win it this year, but we are a national championship team.
I'm not going to say the words of Ellinger, like, we're back. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because, baseball's never really gone anywhere. They've always been in the mix. They went to Omaha. They went to Omaha a few times under David Pierce, and Jim Schlossnagle's been there a few times. So, I'm excited. The players are excited. They already have one championship. They won the Shriners champion. They end up with a plus 15 run differential. So 2-1. They're champions of the Globe Life Shriners Classic. So one big thing that's a difference you see this year that has never happened at the University of Texas is facial hair.
Okay.
No one has ever worn facial hair at the University of Texas. I volunteer coached there when I was 40 years old, and I was told to shave my little goatee. I'm like, I'm 40 years old. Hold on a second. But I did it because no one's ever done it in uniform. And Schloss came over, said it's okay. I even had Riley Galvan at the alumni game come up and ask me, what do you think? And I knew what he was talking about. I go, about what? And he goes, well, at first, I'm old school. No one's ever done it. I didn't like it. I'm like,
yeah.
Somebody should have came and talked to the old guys and see what they thought. But hey, it's Schlossnagle's program. Players have always wanted to do it, but they've just never been able to at the University of Texas. So they changed that rule. I like it. You look tough. You look a little, like you're going to get your, dig in the dirt and grind it out every night when you got the beard on and get dirty. So it's not a problem with me. I don't mind it. And I've talked to a lot of alumni, and they ask me because they know that I'm closer to the program than a lot of people, and they're like, "What is up with that?" And I said, "Hey, it's not in our hands, so we can't do anything about it. So let's go with it and see what happens."
No, look. There's been a lot of improvements in facial hair grooming that have come out now, so you can have it and not have a greasy, dirty beard. That is what was the old.
You can't have any Duck Dynasty stuff coming down.
No, with Jason Worth or somebody like that. But no, it is a definite. But those are the small changes of trying to. And at a point like that, when you come in and just say, let's make some small changes that everyone can notice and everyone can see that we're making small changes. And those small things will lead to big changes. I'm just a fan of what they've been doing so far. And honestly, it was going into this weekend. I think every Texas baseball fan would tell you everybody went into this thinking this doesn't count towards the season. We're not going to put this on there. We know we suck in Arlington. I'm not going to worry about it. We go 0-3, and I'm not going to worry about it. I'll be fine, and we'll start the season on Tuesday. And then to see how they did, they played. You went, oh, okay, this is great. We feel like there's something special brewing because it was the first, again, small change. You played well in Arlington. You played well at Globe Life. Those are fun changes. And so I'm excited to see where this team goes. If you're projecting where Texas, you feel where their baseline is, not where they may end up, but just their baseline. Is this a super regional team, a host a regional team? Where's the baseline of, if this doesn't happen, something probably went wrong during the season? And sometimes it happens, but where's your baseline right now with this Texas team?
Well, you always say 35 wins. If you can get to 35 wins, especially in the SEC, you're going to host a regional. And hosting a regional, I think 75% of the time the host wins and goes to host a super regional or goes to super regional. So that's one of the most important things is get as many wins as you can. I think this team is capable of that. Like you said, you're going to run into some bad things during the season. Maybe a couple might happen for 2 weeks, but if it happens early, that's fine. You just don't want it to happen in late uh, April and May. You want to get hot at the right time. Texas teams have done that in the past and went on and made a dome all when you weren't expecting them to. So I really think this team is capable of winning, maybe not the conference, because, I mean, there's a lot of good teams out there. I'm not saying they won't, but there's a lot of good baseball teams in the SEC, and it's not an easy schedule. I think they can host a regional, and I think if they can host a regional, I really do think they can make a dome all. It's tough. You saw what happened last year. They had to go to College Station, and that wasn't very fun. That wasn't very fun. I was watching that one. I had the Santa Barbara regional, and I was watching that one from afar, and that just didn't look like a fun time. So you want to host your friendly park, and you have a lot better chance of winning.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it would be a lot less fun this season. Be a lot less fun this season. It might be dangerous. You might be taking the bus back every day at that one. You don't want to be staying in a hotel down there. I'll tell you what, why don't we take a quick little break? We'll play a couple words from our sponsors real quick here at Texas Sports Unfiltered. If you guys want to chime in on the text line 512-222-9328 or on the chat if you have any questions for that. I want to come back, talk a little bit about Texas football not losing a coach. It's a story, and I kind of want to get a former professional athlete and star player's opinion on how much this matters. I want to get into Texas baseball as well. We'll get a little bit into NBA All-Star Weekend. I see Longhorn Bear in there talking about it in the chat already. We'll also go into some MLB. If we got a little time, we'll talk a little MLB with Greg while we've got him as well. We'll keep all that rolling here on Texas Sports Unfiltered on Open Gym here 4 to 6 p.m. on weekdays.
Hi, I'm Hayden Covert. Welcome to Covert Buick GMC of Bee Cave, your home in the Hill Country for new and pre-owned Buick and GMC vehicles. With beautiful inventory arriving daily, including the GMC Yukon, Sierra 1500, and Buick Enclave, you'll be certain to find the perfect vehicle at an incredible deal. Our service department is also open for all your vehicle maintenance needs. Visit us today for a test drive. Covert, born and raised in Austin. We are professional grade.
Altstadt Beer, the best beer that you can find all throughout the great state of Texas. Y'all know I've been a fan of Altstadt for years now, and if you try it, I think you will be too. If you've already tried it, you know exactly what I am talking about. Altstadt is brewed locally in Fredericksburg, but available all over the state of Texas. So if you're tuned in Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, it does not matter. You can find Altstadt at a local grocery store or liquor store. They've got a bunch of different brews, something for every beer drinker out there. The lager, the Kolsch, those are their two flagship beers, both award winners. They are fantastic. The Altstadt Light sacrifices on calories but does not sacrifice on the taste. They've got great pills, tons of great seasonals as well. I'm telling you, one sip and you won't go back to the other beers you've been drinking in the past. It is the official beer of BK. It should be the official beer of you as well. It's Altstadt Beer. No impurities, no regrets.
Hi, this is Tom McKay with Audiovisual Consultations. Today's home electronics can be a bit daunting. My company has spent the last 36 years making sure they are not. For those of you who have not experienced our services yet, we'd like to invite you to give us a try for all your home electronics needs. We carry all the major brands of televisions and stereo equipment at prices you can't find in stores. And we come to you. There's no need to leave your home to find great pricing and incomparable service. No traffic and experienced sales geeks or pushy showroom tactics. We believe in having some fun and dreaming big. Do you have a dream for your home entertainment? Let us know. We can make it come true. And we are always there to help after the job is done. We cultivate clients for a lifetime by treating everyone like their family. No, not those family members. I'm talking about the ones you actually like. So relax, hug your kids, make love to your wife, and smile. Then, when you have a moment, give us a call at 255-8678. That's 512-255-8678. Or online at avconsultations.com.
All right, back here on Open Gym with the legendary lifetime Longhorn, Greg Swindell, joining me as my co-host today. Text line is open 512-222-9328. I'll let everybody know we're going to do a giveaway here, a Cabo Bob's gift card. I do enjoy myself some Cabo Bob's. We'll be doing that giveaway here we'll do it in the 5 o'clock hour. So we'll probably do it in the next 30 minutes or so. We'll do that giveaway. If you guys want to hang out with us for that, we'll get you there. Shout out Longhorn Bear says Max took the Aggies ERA from 5.3 to 3.6. Enough said. So yes, anybody can lower some ERAs. You appreciate to have on your staff. You also got a text in that says, "Too bad the Ole Miss game did not count as our SEC conference game." But nice, yeah. Just get an extra one in there. Why not? Why not throw an extra one in there? Help you out at the end of the season. I wouldn't mind that as well. Greg, I do want to get into a little bit of Texas football talk because we always talk Texas football here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. And the story that came out over the last couple of days, a little bit earlier this morning, was that we know Tashard Choice has been poached to the NFL. We know there's been rumors around some other coaches and some names that people are going to come in. You start to have some success in your program, you know people are going to come in and start trying to poach. And the rumor was, or the story, the report is now that Torrey Becton, who is the director of football performance, is what his official title is, but he's basically strength and conditioning, your strength and conditioning coach, has been given a new contract, has been given a stay, that he was talking to some NFL teams, that it was a possibility that he would be departing. He is staying. He's been with Sark since the beginning here at Texas 2021 and has done a lot for this program. He's coveted across the nation. Everybody is a big fan of Torrey Becton and what he's been able to do. But it's strength and conditioning. And I feel to a lot of people get that it's so important part of a game. But as an ex-athlete, I'd love to get your opinion on how important, how much you dealt with strength and conditioning throughout your career, how much it was important when you were, 18, 19 years old coming in, and how much when you started to be more, you're in the majors and maybe some injuries start piling up. And now you're trying to figure out how to get it. How do you go through that with the strength and conditioning coach, and where does that fall in the world? Because I think it's a big thing to keep. When you have it, you're not having a ton of bad injuries. I know the running back room was kept up, was just really beat down this season. Those injuries are going to happen, but you have guys that are getting nicked up and coming back in the game. You have guys that are being able to, your offensive linemen being able to stay in and play the amount of snaps your offensive line did this year is a testament to a strength and conditioning coach. Your D-line played really well as well. I think there's a lot that goes into it. For you, when you look at strength and conditioning coaches, what do you think of how their importance to the team?
Well, I look at a big man, a big strong man, and a guy that he doesn't like a weak person. Right? I mean, they can point out the weak person. I mean, if you're in the weight room and you haven't been working out over the summer or working out over the winter as a baseball player, your strength coach is the first guy that's going to know. I mean, he's the first guy that's you're going to be throwing up on the side. You're not going to be able to do this, that. It might take a while to get back into shape, but he knows. And that's the thing I like. And that he's the director of football performance. And that starts in the weight room. It starts with your diet. I mean, that's how things go these days. I'll go back to I'll take it back to when I was in college, high school, even. We didn't even have a weight room at Sharpstown High School. So I'd never lifted weights. I didn't lift weights when I got to Texas in my first fall, but then fall ball ended and we got to meet Dana LeDuc in the football locker room, and Oscar, the big, I forget what nationality he was, but these guys, I mean, I was that guy. I was that weak guy. I couldn't do a pull-up. I was so sore I couldn't move after that. We tried to go to Gregory Gym and play basketball after our first day of weights, and I couldn't even get the ball 10 feet in the air. I mean, that's how weak and everything. And the importance of strength and conditioning. I threw 84, 85 coming out of high school, and I could throw strikes and I could get a curve all over the plate. But when I got to Texas, I wanted to quit. I wanted to quit in the fall, because I'm supposed to be this touted guy coming out of high school, and I'm not supposed to be getting hit like this. Well, when we got with Dana LeDuc and got in the weight room and I got stronger, we go to Arizona State during the spring and I'm throwing 92, 93 miles an hour. And there's only one thing I can give credit. That's getting in the weight room, getting my legs strong, getting my core strong, growing up a little bit. But once I started learning that conditioning is really a big, and my family was big. I was always called big, but I look back, I wasn't really that big. But I give all the credit to getting in that weight room and getting my legs and getting my core strong, and that's what guys these days we used the football trainers. They would come over and run us. So now every sport has a specified strength and conditioning, a dietitian, and study labs. I don't know what those are, but where you go and get ready for class. But everyone is in their own element. The running backs have their guys, the quarterbacks have their guys, but there's one person over all of them, and that's Torrey Becton. And this guy, he was with Sark at Washington for a few years before he came here.
Yeah.
So he knows Sark, he knows what he wants. But I mean, if you're a player, you love to hate the person because he's going to push you. He's going to push you as hard as he can, but he's doing it because he loves you and he knows what's inside you and the ability that you have. I don't remember. I don't know if it's the player or Torrey Becton or the physicalness of that Texas team this year. I mean, they're going to their first year in the SEC as a football team, and everybody wasn't expecting anything from them. And they laid the boom. They laid the boom on a lot of people. And you can give Torrey Becton a lot of credit. You also give the players a lot of credit. But they were ready. They were in shape. They weren't afraid to hit. And they lasted the whole game. Most of them last the whole game. You didn't see too many going in and out. So there's a lot that goes into strength and conditioning, and that's behind the scenes. But Texas won the lottery when they were able to keep him on the football side.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's understated at points of, you're exactly right, going into the SEC and being able to be a powerful team. And I think it threw some people off that they were expecting to come in and play hard-nosed football. And especially when you lose Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat inside, teams thought, well, we'll just push them around. And they couldn't. And Texas, run defense stayed strong, and part of that is that core. And I think you also hit a really great point too when you talk about keeping a guy like this. There's other qualified guys that Texas go find somebody else, but you also talk about the players that are here, and you talk, in consistency and continuity in your team. That this is a thing where you have a relationship with that coach of trying not to let him down, and knowing that this is a guy who you have to have a hard relationship with, because this is someone who's going to yell at you. And if there's not a relationship built already, and now you're a junior, you're like, I don't want to get yelled at by a new guy. I don't care what you think, man. I've been here longer than you have. I don't necessarily want you to tell me that I'm being a wimp right now. I don't know you like that. So to be able to keep that continuity of a guy that when he does have to get tough on people, and when somebody comes in, out of spring, and they show up at spring ball and they are not ready to be at spring ball, and you have a coach that helps you, is the same way we talked about with baseball, that it doesn't have to go to Sark, that they're not having to go to, you can start with, no, this guy is going to get you into shape. And then you can go to position coach, and he's going to get you into shape. And then if it's still a problem, we can go to the head coach, and we can tell the head coach, hey, this guy might be a problem. We need to decide if he's still going to be on the team, much less playing or anything else, if he doesn't shape up. But to have that person that there's a known relationship with, the fact that you can still tell stories like you just said, that no, it's important to remember that you could say, I can vividly remember not hitting a jump shot. We'll tell you how much that was seared into your brain. That word
couldn't even get the ball 10 feet in the air. How about that? Yeah.
And that's my point, is to be able to have that, to be able to keep a guy. It also shows good that Texas is still spending that money. We know, I've talked about a little on this show, that they built Blake Gideon. I don't think Blake Gideon was making the amount of money that was crazy. That he's making plenty. None of the coaches are going hungry, but at the same part, I don't think that he was making. Tashard Choice was. Tashard Choice is one of the highest paid assistants in college football, and you can walk out of that. We still don't know. There's been a few names thrown around, but I haven't heard anything that's rather definitive yet. But you can say there's still some budget there, but you have to be able to keep spending and keep pushing. Texas spends the money. They spent the money on baseball. They spent the money. And if you're going to spend the money on all these great facilities and all the great nutrition and everything else, and now that you can actually get them food, which is a huge difference of, you can provide food more now, and you can give them nutrition, and they have their own money too, that this isn't 20 years ago when guys were coming out, and they're not going to be in the best shape because they couldn't eat the way they're supposed to, and they get 2 meals for a defensive lineman. He's probably not going to be in the best shape when he gets in.
You can't go to Sonic. You can't go to Sonic and have a cheeseburger. I mean, you can, after the game. Yeah.
Oh man, the amount of times we would do coaches shows and stuff, and you'd see the defensive line walk into a Pluckers, and you were just like, I don't know if there's gonna be enough wings for the rest of for the rest of the restaurant. We got to get these guys fed. So it is. Yeah, it's a really cool thing to see Torrey Becton stay. It's a great sign for Texas football. All the continuity you can keep when you do lose a Blake Gideon, you lose a Tashard Choice. There still could be other names that go out the door because you're a top program, and as people are filling different positions in the NFL, it's going to go. I don't know how many will go to other college jobs unless it's a step up, and those are probably a few, a little bit less likely now. But the NFL is poaching right now, and it's good on the sense that you want to have that. We always talk about, attrition being there's good attrition and bad attrition, that you want the attrition of players going in the draft and players being sniped away from you because your team is so good. You don't want the bad attrition of people leaving because they don't like what they're seeing. And so right now it's all good attrition. People are going to bigger and better things. Even a Tashard Choice is going to that. When you were playing, what point for you was it that you saw that you had a coach when the first time you really lost a coach that you had a relationship with, and you were doing, was it even just going to the pros and not being able to have the college anymore? What did it mean to lose a coach like that? And how easy is it to get in line with a new coach when you have those happen?
Well, in Cleveland, I had no choice because we're getting new coaches every year. I think I had 7 pitching coaches and 6 managers in 5 years. My first stint in Cleveland. But Mark Wiley was a good pitching coach. I had Mel Stoudemire was a great pitching coach, and for the most part, I never lost them. I was either getting released because I wasn't performing well, or I signed with another team. One guy that when I was in Arizona, first got to Arizona, Buck Showalter, I considered one of my favorite managers just because he listened to me. He listened to a veteran player and kind of changed a few rules, like the facial hair thing. He said, Randy can have it, but nobody else can. I'm like, wait a minute. No. He goes, well, look at what he's done. I said, yeah, but I've played longer than Randy. So I can have facial hair too. We changed that. We changed socks. He just started listening and became a really good manager for us at the time. So when he went somewhere else, I didn't like it, but the next year we won the World Series. So that kind of changed my thoughts on that. But you're going to lose coaches, and thing about baseball now, or when I was playing, there still wasn't that much loyalty. You had a few guys that stayed with teams their full career, but I mean, you chase the money. You obviously want money and you want to win. Once I got the money, I wanted to win, and that was one of the biggest things. But losing coaches, more so you're upset when you lost teammates when they went somewhere else. But strength coaches, like we talk about Torrey Becton, I mean, they had a home run, using the baseball term, when they kept him, and they have to keep him. Texas has 15 going to the combine, and it's like
14 going to the combine. You could lose a couple more. Right. Like a David Bender or somebody like that could be going as well to the draft.
Yeah, I mean, so that's amazing in its own. Talking maybe 2 or 3 first rounders. I mean, that's a testament to recruiting, to coaching, and I mean, you could look up and down the line, and Torrey Becton, big reason for a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what your good point there too is that the combine and those number of guys being ready. The development of players at Texas is not just always training them to do their job better. It is, are they conditioned to be an NFL athlete? And, there's plenty of reasons why Texas Longhorns were not getting drafted before Sark came in, but fixing all of those problems are how you get to where you're at. So that was good news today to see that Texas did not lose another name. They were able to keep Torrey Becton in there.
Yes.
Let's go into another Texas team that kept our weekend looking really, really good for us. Texas basketball. This was a game. Texas men's basketball has been up and down this season. There's been times that you thought things were about to turn around. Rodney Terry teams historically have played well at the end of seasons. And so you had a little bit of hope. There was injuries as well for Kentucky. So there was a lot of hope going into it. When we heard Arthur Kaluma was not going to play, that did not give me a lot of hope, because one of the things you have to do against this Kentucky team is be physical and play in the post. And they were just not really able to do that a lot. But Caden Shedrick stepped up being physical on the defensive end. They were able to play good enough defense. And then we really saw Trey Johnson once again carry the load, and then he just needs one other guy to show up now. Trey Johnson's so good, and he just goes, I need some guys to play defense, and I need one other score. I need at least one other guy to really step up, and he got it. Tremont Mark had one of his best games of the season. He has been so off for the past 2-3 weeks. He has just been, I mean, basically since that Arkansas game, a little before that, he had the shoulder injury, and he hasn't been the same player. And offensively, his shots were missing bad. It wasn't his shot's just a little off, but we're right there. You know, he's hitting backboard on some of these shots. He's not, it was a lot of things going on, and part of it may have been mental, part of it may have been overcorrecting, and it's a shoulder injury, but it's on the off shoulder, but you're still talking about that in your motion. And for whatever reason, he goes out, he goes 9 for 14, 3 of 5 from 3. They end up shooting terribly from 3, but he shoots well from 3. They shot 21% from 3. But you were able to get him. Trey Johnson puts up a crazy stat line because he has 32 points, but he also has 9 rebounds in the game as well. And you don't expect Trey Johnson to be your leading rebounder, but they were able to tip the ball out a lot, keep plays alive, and Trey Johnson has 5 offensive rebounds. And a lot of those was at the end of the game when they understood where they were at and trying to fight this game out at the end of the game. We talked about strength and conditioning a second ago. This is a team that at points has felt like they were not, because they don't have the depth, because you're talking about a freshman later in the season. It felt like they were dragging a little bit at the end of the games. That wasn't the case here. They were able to finish it out. And you can talk about the defense, 25% from 3 for Kentucky. How do they beat Tennessee? They held Tennessee to bad 3-point shooting, and they hit a bunch of threes. And you can knock off Tennessee. Like, if you hit threes and the other team doesn't, it's usually a pretty easy way to win. And they've been able to do that. Kentucky has. They weren't able to get it going. The defense stepped up at the end. The rebounding. It was a great show to see Caden Shedrick get that last dunk when Kentucky couldn't get the foul, and it ends up just getting passed down. That was, it's always nice when you're playing sports and you get the cherry on top. You just get that play and you get to signify it and you send it home. It all felt great. Greg, you watch the Texas basketball as well. What have you seen from this team that it just felt like a must-win game, but they've had 3 or 4 of them and they didn't win them. So you keep saying, well, this is a must-win. This is a must-win. Their back's against the wall. This was again, and they finally woke up and did it.
Well, their previous 3 games, they got beat. They should have beat Arkansas, you would think.
Yep.
Should have beat Vandy, you would think. And then got blown out by Bama, number 1 team in the nation. So it was time for someone to step up. You're at home. You're playing you're a blue blood, Kentucky, a blue blood of college basketball. Texas is not really historically known as a basketball school. So you wanted to play well. It was an important win for them. And for them to come back and hang on, I think a big reason for that, held Kentucky to 37% field goal percent in the second half, and they shot 46%. So down the stretch, the Texas basketball team really picked it up. And I keep going over numbers. They had 21 points off turnovers. So took advantage of the turnovers from Kentucky. Kentucky only had 12. So it was a big game for Texas. It was a huge win. And again, SEC, not really known as a basketball conference, having the best basketball conference in a long time. But they just had 1 and 2 play each other over the weekend. So, and they had 1, 2, and 3 did the SEC.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think basketball, you'd think football, you think baseball, but not basketball. And so it's a great conference this year. And Texas holding their own. I mean, anything can happen at the right time. You get hot, these guys, that win, you never know. It could pole vault them a little bit further. Confidence going down the line to win a game like that. You don't want to go 4 in a row. You already got 3 bad losses previous to that. So to come out with that win is going to be good for Texas in the next rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where you look at with Texas. They've had injuries all season long. Kendall Weaver still hasn't come back, missed about over a month now. That's a big piece when you talk about a spark plug and a defender on the perimeter and a guy that you can put against all these other great guards that are playing around. You have that player in Kendall Weaver. He's just been gone. You take him off the table. So that means Julian Larry and Jordan Pope can play together a little bit more, but those guys have not worked well together. And so now you put Jordan Pope on the bench. And I believe the theory is maybe this can be our spark plug because he is a guy that needs the ball in his hands a little bit more. So when Trey Johnson is not in the game, which Trey Johnson played 36 minutes, he's in the game almost all the time. But you can give him a little break of carrying the ball up every time. Let Jordan Pope take it there. He was okay. Wasn't great. 2 for 10 shooting in the game. 1 from 7 from 3. You have to increase. And so I think moving him to the bench has been, it's like moving someone down the order. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It hasn't worked yet. If that piece starts to work and Julian Larry can run the offense with Tremont Mark and with Trey Johnson, and then when you get a Kaluma back, if he can run more of an offense, and then you put Jordan Pope in and say, let's just run them. Let's just run now and have some fun with the freshmen. We can go run up and down the court with Jordan Pope, and he can put up points. I think that's a fun way to think about it working, but it just hasn't been able to be put together yet this season. And, you want an 8-man rotation. Right now, they're really at a 6-man rotation with the injuries. And
they better be in shape.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying is you need Kaluma and Kendall Weaver, and that's who you want to put in. You don't really want to play Zarek Onyema a lot. He got in foul trouble. Devin Pryor's playing well in the position he's been put into, but he's not ready to be in there on a tournament team. And so if we say, and Nick Cody's not ready either, good freshman. Hopefully he stays with Texas and you build him into a player next season. But a lot of these pieces, they're just not ready yet. And you go, you need everybody healthy. It was so good to see Tremont Mark show up and look like a healthy Tremont Mark, because that's supposed to be your second best player this season. And then you can go between Kaluma or Jordan Pope is who's supposed to be your third. But right at going into last game, it was Trey Johnson and everyone else. And you didn't know who was going to show up on what night. You still don't know if Tremont Mark hasn't done it back-to-back nights, but it'd be great to see this step going forward in a must-win game. You're now in winnable games, but you have to keep that concept that every game is a must-win. And, I don't like the fact, but it's true, but they're still being projected to be a tournament team right now. And I know a lot of Texas fans are kind of writing it off because the team is just not fun to watch a lot of nights. So I get why you don't, because if you just turn the game on and watch a half, you go, I don't know why anybody would ever want to watch this. So I get it, but they're still projected to be a tournament team. They're Texas. They want to have Texas in because you get 2 choices. You get either all the viewing base of Texas fans watching, or you get a team to beat Texas and you can dance. You have a Cinderella story in the making, because now you knocked off Texas, even though it's not a basketball school, it's still Texas. And so you get to have those pieces. This, when you're going through and your back's up against the wall in a big game against a ranked team, and then you go back, they don't play again until Saturday. They have a week off. So now they get to cool their jets a little bit. How do you maintain that energy when you get a little break, but you have to stay? I know that this game we're not playing LSU anymore, but we have to pretend that we are. We have to pretend that we're playing the best team every single week. We have to pretend that we're playing the Aggies every week now, because I have to be up for these games. Rodney Terry doesn't always get his guys up. How as a player, do you keep yourself in that mindset for the next 2-3 weeks that you got to do it for Texas?
You got 2 or 3 weeks or your season's over. That's how you go about it. I just think that a few days off is going to be good, because they did put so much energy in that Kentucky game, and they did win a big game when they needed to win that game. So but get a few days off, and you also got to think about it. Everyone's after these guys right here, right? Yeah. Everyone is after the University of Texas. So this is just the biggest game, even though you might be playing not a good team or a ranked team. They're playing the University of Texas. So you take it like that, and down the stretch, you want consistency. You want to go out there and not lay an egg. You want to go out there and play like you did against Kentucky. Play like you did earlier in the season when you were winning other games. So you just want to be consistent on your jump shot, be consistent with your routine. And like I said, it's 2 weeks left. And if you're not playing well, you might go to the NIT, and a lot of people don't want to do that. Oh, yeah. I mean, you do to play a couple more games, but it's a team that needs to get more consistent, and right now would be the time to do it.
Yeah, and I don't think this team goes to the NIT, because I feel if they don't make the tournament, there's too many people after Rodney Terry's head. And so I think that if that ends up being that he's gone, then it just ends up that he's gone. No need to go to a game if you lose your coach. You're basically, and in college basketball these days, you basically are rebuilding your entire team, because you go Trey Johnson's going pro. Some of those guys are seniors, so they're all gone. And then the guys that are there are most likely not staying. There isn't a Brock Cunningham that would have stayed. That was the only guy who stayed going in from Shaka to Chris Beard because he just wanted to be at Texas. I don't think there's that guy there right now. So you probably just end up, maybe some of the walk-ons stay, who knows? But that's, you really reset your whole team if you go out that direction. But that seems like the right, just because there are too many people out for Rodney's head right now. So, but, you know, he has been historically every season. This is where we sit and we go, right, well, Rodney's not the guy. And all of a sudden they win some games and they get in the tournament. They win a game or two in the tournament and it changes everybody's minds enough and you can't do anything about it. So hopefully he still has that run because it's Texas. You want to see him hit it. You love to see Trey Johnson get into that moment. And you want to see Trey Johnson in March. You want to see those great young players. He won his 4th SEC Freshman of the Year award, Freshman of the month. He won this or the week. Sorry, Freshman of the Week award. He won his 4th one of that. You want to see players like that in March. That's just what you want to see. And it feels like he wants to be there with the performance he had. It was nice to see Jason Kent. Feels like he's finding his role a little bit more in this team. He had 8 rebounds in the game. He's 3 for 4 because he's just going inside. You know, he took 1 3. They're going to leave him open from 3 because he's just not a high percentage shooter. Him and Julian Larry, both those kids from Indiana State, they're going to leave open from 3. You know, and sometimes you got to take them. You can't, you know, because you just can't let them sag off of everybody or else it's going to screw Trey Johnson. Because now you basically are going, you can go 4-on-1 on Trey Johnson because none of us are going to hit a shot. So you have to be able to try and go out there and pressure him. But it's good to see those pieces come together on a team that really 2 or 3 games ago looked completely lost. It felt like they found a little bit more of themselves in the game on Saturday. And the week off is really, really big for this Texas team that is so beat up that it gives Tremont Mark another week. Maybe we might see Kendall Weaver. I know we haven't heard about it, but Ronnie Terry plays most of these. I know at the beginning of the season, Tremont Mark had the ankle injury, and he said out indefinitely for that. And Tremont Mark got a little upset at that remark because he said, "No, I'll be back. I'm not that." And it's like, I just don't want to give you Tuesday, and then it's not Tuesday. But if you look at what this team can do, there's a lot of hope. If you get Kendall Weaver and Kaluma back, that they can go and win the rest of the season. And then it's just showing up in the SEC tournament, winning a couple of games. And now all of a sudden you're from on the bubble to moving back clearly into the tournament. There's a lot of hope to be had in that. But the women's basketball team on the other end is not worried about the bubble. Not at all. They beat South Carolina. They win, they keep winning, and then they go play Kim Mulkey and LSU, number 5 team in the country, down by 12, come back, win the game, and then get the stat that every basketball guy, especially just white basketball guys with no athleticism like myself, 21 from 21 from the free throw line.
Right.
That is a stat you always love. And you hit your free throws. They missed 6 free throws. You won by 7. And that's when you see that, and you just, as a coach, it drives you nuts when you lose by the free throws you missed. And you say if Texas misses 8 free throws, which easily you can miss in a 21 free throw game, you lose that game. It's seeing those things in basketball you love to see, but it's what Vic Schaefer has built, which is, I know what this team can be at its core, and it's the other stat that blaringly stands out in this game. And you can talk about the players all you want, but as a team, the stat that sticks out is LSU scored 9 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, Texas scored 9 in the second quarter.
They did.
They came back in the second half, like you said, and played well. And for LSU, they held them 9 points in the fourth quarter, like you said. But they say that free throws don't mean anything, especially early in the game. Well, you just made the point where every free throw counts. I mean, if you win by 1, you made an extra 1 more free throw. Those are the most. And Texas teams, not the women's team, but historically have not been able to shoot free throws. But Texas, 26-2. They're beating teams. I'll be the first to tell you. I was watching the LSU game. I flipped it on. It's like, we're down 12. So I think I turned it to golf, and then my brother-in-law started texting, going, Texas women just solidified themselves as the number 1. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, wow. And a testament to Coach Schaefer. He loves his job. Yeah. He loves those girls, and he loves what he's doing. And he's such a great guy. And how could you not want to play for him and do the things that they've done and win? And I mean, having Roy Harmon back doesn't hurt.
No,
in that position, and the
2 shots down the stretch too.
Yeah,
I mean, you just have so many options and so many people that can play. But it's that Vic Schaefer, because they go, and then when I say 9 points in the fourth quarter too, you're talking about when they're fouling. Texas goes down to 2 free throws. So you're basically playing just offense at that point if you're LSU, because you're not really playing much defense, and you're still not getting anything to go in. And that goes to free throws too. You know, if you hit 1 free throw, all of a sudden they're going to go for 2. That's a much easier possession for LSU every time down.
Yeah.
If you're missing free throws, then the clock changes. We don't have to hit threes to get back into it. We're just driving the paint, and we're able to go inside. Anisha Morrow had 16 defensive rebounds, 4 offensive, 20 rebounds in the game. And this is a Texas team that rebounds well, and they were able to go inside and rebound with Texas. You know, those are the pieces that you worry about if you get into a game and miss a couple of those free throws. But the, you know, just the fundamentals and what they've been able to pull off. Madison Booker hitting those free throws down the stretch like it's no sweat. I mean, that just watching her to step up and just no fear on her eyes to go in and hit those. She didn't have a great game from the field. She went 3 of 17, but the 10 of 10 free throws makes a big difference down at the end of the game. It was like one of those games. No one really stood out for Texas why they weren't able to get going. Offensively, they just looked kind of bad all game. LSU's a really good team. Kim Mulkey's a great coach. We know all that. So they're going to play well, but they defensively found it at the end of the game. And, you know, Vic Schaefer put the fear of God in them. You better go out there and play some basketball. You guys are so close to being the best team in the country. Right. And you're going to give it up because you're missing a couple shots. That doesn't matter. We'll get buckets. We'll find a way to score. But if you let up on your defense because the offense is struggling, and that's everywhere in basketball, that's one of the big problems Texas has. They let up on defense because they can't hit a shot on the offensive end. Texas men's basketball does that all the time. But this women's team, Vic Schaefer got into them between the third and fourth quarter, and just this was it. This is where you prove yourself as a national championship contending team, is that you go out there and show that you can take the number 5 team in the country and shut them down. And I guarantee if you shut them down, we'll get better opportunities because we'll be able to run back down the court. It was a lot of fun to watch it on this run where you're beating top team after top team. You beat a Kentucky, you beat a South Carolina, you're beating really good basketball teams. And you're doing it in different ways, finding different, where Kentucky, it's just you had the size. You're able to go inside and beat them with size. You can beat them with guard play. And South Carolina, you're able to play defense there as well. And you just have all these different pieces. It's fun to watch this women's team. And it was part of the weekend. The softball team as well killed it this weekend. It was a fun weekend to see everybody competing well on the 40 acres. And I just don't – you know, when you get away from football season, it's very nice to have weekends like this where you're just kind of flipping between stuff and everybody's playing really well. And so it was a lot of fun to see that. And I can't say enough about this women's team. Just watching these last few games, because, you know, women's basketball, there's points in it where you're not playing against real competition. And, you know, there's just not enough, you know, so once you get into conference play, and this going to the SEC for women's basketball has been eye-opening of watching SEC women's basketball every week.
They're playing in front of 11,000.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought that?
Oh,
nothing against women's basketball. Nothing against women's basketball, but a few years ago, you didn't think that. You didn't think. No. I mean, Moody Center's a great place, and it's bringing them in, but you got to have a good product to bring people in, or they're not going to come. And Vic Schaefer's done that. The coaching staff's done that. Del Conte's done that. I mean, doing what it takes to stay in the SEC, knowing they were going to the SEC, and to win. I mean, if you go to a new conference and not win, who cares what you're doing?
Exactly.
But it is an amazing turnaround. We had Vic Schaefer in the booth at Longhorn Network last year at a baseball game. He threw out the first pitch, and Doug Williams was umpiring the game from College Station, and Vic Schaefer was like, I'm good friends with Doug Williams. Actually, when I was younger, I wanted to be an umpire. Like, what? I said, I think you made the right decision. He goes, no, I loved it. That's what I wanted to do. I went to schools and tried to be a better umpire. And that was one of the questions I asked him. The next question was, I said, all right, coach, you wake up in the morning, you shower, put your clothes on, and the whistle's on there. Like, that's like part of your wardrobe now, because everywhere he was in the booth, he had it on a Saturday afternoon in the Longhorn Network booth with his whistle on. And I just had to give him a little ribbing about, it's just part of the wardrobe. And he's like, when you do it for as long as I have, it just becomes natural just to put that whistle on. And you never know when you might need it.
Never know when you might need. Well, I don't think umpires need whistles though. So I don't know if he may have to lose it if he followed his childhood dreams. The weirdest childhood. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a fireman. I want to be an umpire.
I wanted to be an umpire. Yeah. I thought that was interesting.
Now I need to know what his out call is. I need to know that strikeout call. I want to hear Vic Schaefer's strikeout call. See if he gets real animated in it. But no, what he's done at Texas, and then the SEC. If you have not watched women's basketball much this season, I like the Big 12. There's some good teams in it, but watching the SEC basketball with Kim Mulkey and Dawn Staley and some of these coaches in there, it's elevated basically the entire conference because of the teams at the top that everyone's trying to compete with it. And now you put Texas in there with Vic Schaefer, where he's coached before. I mean, he was an SEC coach before he came to Texas, so he knew what he was walking into, which, it's something I've talked about with Rodney Terry. I don't think Rodney Terry knew what he was walking into. Just how the game is a little bit different, how they call it a little bit different. We saw it with Chris Beard when he went from Texas to Ole Miss, that there was a part of it where kind of what he did defensively, you have to shift what you do, and had struggles his first season of how they call the game a little bit different than the Big 12. And so you don't have those things. Vic Schaefer knew and was able to walk in and have this success in day one. And just another one of those pieces. Yeah, another good hire from CDC. He's got credit for a lot of the good hires. And to everyone who pays for all these coaches and make sure we get them in, also great job for those guys.
Thank you.
Let's go over before we take another break. I do want to get into a little bit of NBA All-Star Weekend. I don't know how much of you saw. I'm a big basketball guy. I started covering when I was 18, and I've just always been a fan of basketball. And so, but All-Star Weekend has now become more of an issue of everybody walks into it automatically thinking it's going to be terrible. And whether it is or
because it is.
Well, that's the thing, but it's like, and they
entertaining.
And so there's parts of it that are really good, but then everything is now made for people who don't like basketball as much. And it's this weird, you have performances and they have LiAngelo Ball play and do an awful performance in the middle. And you're like, why would you give another? There's already two in the league. We don't need their brother also couldn't make the league now rapping. We don't need that. But yeah, the performances in between. But we saw, the Sunday night, they did get the Rising Stars. They made those games a little bit better because of the competition that they were going to play on Sunday. That for the people who watch the Rising Stars games, because you care about the future of the league and there's players, and especially for some of these teams, it's like they don't have the stars. Like the Raptors don't have anybody in the All-Star game, but they got players in the Rising Stars and, the Hornets and all those guys. You can get guys like that in there. And so it's a fun thing on a Friday night to watch the Rising Stars. They cared more because they were talking about playing on Sunday. And so those games were automatically elevated to be better games. Then you have All-Star Saturday night. The Wemby fiasco, that Chris Paul and Wemby got disqualified for trying to cheat the skills challenge, which is just peak Spurs, Chris Paul, Wemby, all these super competitive guys being like, no, we figured out how to game the system. And then we're disqualified because they found a way to do it. But the NBA did not appreciate it. So they were disqualified from it. But then the slam dunk contest is, again, you had two guys that could dunk and two guys who couldn't. And the two guys just missed every dunk basically. And so it was good, but they weren't practiced well enough. And you can even see the guy, the announcers on the sideline are like, stop using the colored ball. You're using a different basketball. You practice this dunk with a regular basketball for like 3 weeks. And then you change the basketball. It's not going to bounce the same. And so just dumb stuff of that was how that goes. So you get through Saturday night, and then we get to Sunday, which has been the problem, which has been that players just don't care. And they just, and I get it. I understand. Zay was talking about it before we came on. I understand the concept that these guys don't want to get hurt. I understand the concept that it doesn't really mean anything. I get all of that. It doesn't take a ton of effort. And then the Rising Stars game, so they play the first game. It's okay, but it's not great. The Rising Stars game, there's still going to be dunks. It's still a Globetrotters game to an extent that if someone's going to the basket, you don't go and try and connect with people in the air because that is where you really can get dangerous. And so you just go, if someone got a free pass to the basket, they get a free pass. We got it. But you could play perimeter defense, and they played perimeter defense. They tried to make it so you couldn't make crazy passes and break up crazy passes. And so that game was the most fun game that you saw was because it was these young guys who cared. And it started off with these, older players understanding that they're much better. They know how to win.
Right.
They will win, but they screwed around enough that the Rising Stars stayed in the game. And so it's fun. And then we get what the real problem ended up being was this massive layover in between the time the first team played and then played in the championship game. And the problem was that the team that played first and won got all worked up, broke a sweat, did everything, and then sat back down for an hour, watched two bands play and another game, and then we're like, go back out there and play full speed again. Like, no, man, this is how you get hurt. Is shutting your system back down.
It's supposed to be like an all-star break of a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
I need some time off. But
And
I mean,
so,
I think my thing is get players there that want to be there.
yeah,
A lot
and
of these guys don't want to be there.
And that's where you get the flip of it is you say, okay, get the Rising Stars. They want to be there. They want to play. They're the future of the league. Get them in. And everybody goes, well, they're not all-stars. The all-stars don't give a damn about you. They don't want to be here.
No.
And I mean, a few of them want to come to the parties, but most of them would rather be home with their family or just go, hey, man, I get a week off. I'll take a staycation right now, hang out with my family. I'll go to the gym. I'll still work out, but I don't want to go to a city. I don't want to go to Oakland. I don't want to go to San Francisco right now. I'm good. I don't need to go and do media all week. So look, you want to have those guys. You want to showcase the league, but the way they put it together, it is the worst showcase that the NBA has every year because they tell you it's awful. They openly tell you, and the people commentating, everybody goes, this is going to be bad. And the conversation beforehand is this is bad. And then the conversation after this is bad. And you don't showcase, here's the positives. Here's the good things that happened. You just say, well, there was 3 good things, but there's 5 bad. So it's all bad. No, showcase the good. And then the biggest thing, NBA has to make new stars. And Zay talked about the LeBron didn't play. Anthony Edwards backed out too. So a young star that you really want to be in this, who is uber competitive and you want to try and care, he also backed out. And I get he's got groin soreness. This is a chance to recover. Fine. Then 2 days ago, I'm kind of beat up. I'm not going to go because I'm not going to play 100%. So I don't want to be there. And I'm fine with that. And so there's still people pitching different ideas. I like the Rising Stars. I thought it worked. I get that the lapse in between the 2 games, you cannot do that. The other theory people have thrown out is the USA versus the world. And I do laugh that everybody goes, well, historically the foreign players don't care. And you go, no one cares. It's not like the foreign people were caring less. Like they came out in slippers. No one cared. Yeah. So it's an interesting. And Wembanyama actually was the only one who seemed to really care much. Wembanyama wanted to win. He's pissed off that he's been 2 weekends now and he can't come away with any hardware. He's getting more busy. Like, I'm a winner, and I'm playing on the Spurs. We're not winning anything right now. So he's like he's getting upset. But I think the guys who are playing and winning a lot right now don't care, are never going to care because they're so worried about other things. So you have to start looking at who are the guys that are playing on teams that are not necessarily competing they want the spotlight. They need the spotlight because like a LaMelo Ball or somebody like that, you go, well, he needs a spotlight. He's in Charlotte. He's a really good player, but no one sees him because he plays in Charlotte. And why would you watch a Charlotte Hornets basketball game? They're not very good, but the player is very good. And go put those guys out and do something like that. Do you have any way of making this work in any form or fashion? Is there anything that can make an all-star game work, or is it basically just a lost thing and you say throw it out, do an all-star Saturday night, and then on Sunday find something else, but you can't do basketball anymore?
Baseball, Jose Altuve didn't want to play in the all-star game last year, so he didn't go. Mm-hmm. He was voted in, so he doesn't go. Or he might have went, but he didn't play. He needed a few days off. Okay, well, guess what? There's another player over here from a different team that would love to be an all-star, that would love to be there and see all the glitter, walk on the red carpet. Might be a young player, might be a veteran player that's never made an all-star team. He wants to be there. LeBron James, he didn't want to. He's been on all-stars for 25 straight years. He didn't want to be there. He didn't want to be anywhere. So get guys. You're voted in, you made it. If you don't want to play, tell us. we'll get someone here that does. I mean, I think that could be an easy fix. Get a young rising star, like you said, from Charlotte, and put him in the spotlight that won't just run up and down the court for 3.5 quarters and then play for half a quarter when it's towards the end of the game, and it's not going to be 190 to 180, something like that. So it's players that want to be there. The veteran players, I understand. You want some time off, and LeBron's taking time off during the year because he's just tired. I mean, that's tired to me that he'll do that to his team in the middle of a season just because he needs a day off, an extra day off. But get the guys that want to be in it and that don't say I'm going just because I got voted in and I'm going to play, but I really don't want to play. Well, we don't want you if you don't want to play. I mean, but they're tired. They don't want to do that because it's a showcase. It's really just a show. It's a show for the world to see the lights and all the stuff going on and see one of the ball guys sing. It's just it's getting out of hand, but it sells. It sells, and that's what the people like. But you really would like to see the game get a little better.
Yeah, it is. And we saw Draymond, one of the complaints he had, which, by the way, stop putting a mic on him. But one of his complaints was, well, how are they going to break these scoring records? Like, well, Draymond, none of us care. Not one fan cares about the scoring record in the All-Star game. Not one of us, because it's not real. It doesn't mean, okay, you hog the ball more. Cool. You took 48 shots in an All-Star game. Awesome. That doesn't mean anything. But that's how they're thinking is, well, we want to go. We just don't want to play any defense, and we just want to take shots. So we basically want to make it a scrimmage of shots. And you're like, but nobody wants to watch that. That's not entertaining television. So I'm with you of walking in and go, are you going to play defense? No, then you're not coming.
You're not playing.
We're good. If you don't want to play any defense whatsoever, you're not going to get in defensive stance in this game. You don't get to come. And if I see you walk down the court and you don't ever get in defensive stance, we pull you out of the game and send you home. There's a point of it where it's just frustrating because people do want to be a part of it. They just want the game to be fun for them and not for the fans. And you just have to constantly remind them. And I think that's where Adam Silver has to have the heart to heart with them and be like, I get it, but this is no longer flight. And I think they started a little bit this year, and you saw the players a little bit get taken aback because they didn't get to have their normal vacation. Let's go shoot around and people cheer for me when I hit 17 threes and I take 35. But you say, okay, this is the deal. If you guys don't want it, there is no more sugarcoating this. This is not, we have to change the problem. It's going to be on a different TV network or probably Amazon or somewhere else, maybe NBC next year because TNT contract is gone. So now you can say, we're going to have a whole new presentation. Let's start. We tried something out this year. It can't be exactly that, but move on. But I'm with you. I think there's a point where you have to have the real conversation of nobody cares about what you care about.
Right.
And the fans are paying you millions of dollars by buying your tickets and doing this. Getting these sponsorships in helps the NBA thrive and make us all millionaires. So at a point this is you supposed to be giving back to the fans. I get it's in the middle of the season. You say, I don't want to risk an injury. Fine. That's totally fine and understandable. But don't ruin it for everybody else that you still want to play, but not risk an injury. So you're not going to try. You can't live in that middle ground. And that's where Adam Silver doesn't want to cave on that because he works for the owners and the owners don't care either. The owners are fine with this being this way too. The fact they had to change their name to the Governors because they're like, owners sounds bad. What, are you going to just be better people? No. We'll be the same jerks we always were, but change the name. That'll fix all the problems.
It's the world we live in.
Exactly. It's all about semantics. And so it's just I'm with you 100%. It is at some point you have to have the hard conversation. And that was to everybody who got mad at them changing the format this year. My response was, so if you have a kid that's in school and they're getting bad grades, and then you ask them to get better grades and they keep getting bad grades, so you're just like, well, my kid's dumb. Tough. Or do you try maybe something else? Maybe you put a little bit of effort into it.
You can't polish a turd.
And so you go, well, look, we can do homework together. I think you have to try some things. It's like they tried one thing and everybody freaks out. I thought the Rising Stars worked out. Now maybe this is also because this is something I thought would be a good idea to put young people in the game because young people care more because they want to see their name. They haven't had the opportunity, and for a 20-time All-Star, it probably doesn't carry the same weight as someone who is, just happy to be on a big stage like that and playing in front of cheering fans. So I think it's fixable in the grand scheme of things. but it's right now in a bad place. And once again, they stole the spotlight during the Super Bowl. The Luka trade, everything else, everyone was talking NBA, and it was all positive, and everyone's happy. And then they screw it up like 3 weeks later.
It's a mess. Somebody's got to sit down and have a like you said, a heart-to-heart, a true conversation with the veteran players, or not even the veteran players. Say, you guys are almost gone anyway. So we need to talk to young guys.
We need to talk to Anthony Edwards. We need to talk to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We need to talk to these guys who are coming up now and in the MVP voting. What do we got to do to make you care? And everybody goes, throw money. I'm like, they don't care about money. They make so much more money, and now they'll care if Nike tells them this, and Adidas and Gatorade and Sprite and all of them tell them. Then that'll mess with them more, because that's where they make a ton of money. But their contract, like, whatever. You're gonna give me another $20,000. All right, I'll buy my cousin a new car. I don't care. Yeah, they're doing pretty well. Why don't we take we'll take one more quick break, but I do want to give away. We have a $50 Cabo Bob's gift card that BK has given us to give away. We're going to give that away on the Coda text line. 512-222-9328 is that number. And here's what we're going to ask you to text in. Since I have Greg Swindell here, I'm going to give you a Greg Swindell trivia question. And the first one to send this in on the text line, actually, we'll pick one of them. I'll give you till the end of the commercial break, and we'll pick one of the people who does it. So I'll make it so it doesn't have to be who's not loud.
Do I get a chance to answer it?
Well, you can't after the break.
Okay.
But I feel like you're going to get it right.
Okay.
I have a guess you get it right. It's not a hard one. It's a Googleable one. We'll get it. But I will ask you, Greg Swindell, when he was at Texas, did win a Player of the Year award. He was a Baseball Association Player of the Year. What year was that? If you give me the year, just type in the year, text that in to 512-222-9328. If you send in the Player of the Year award, what year that was, then we'll put you in the running, and we will get back to you about who wins the $50 gift card from our friends at Cabo Bob's. We're going to play a couple of quick messages from our sponsors here at Texas Sports Unfiltered, the ones who are keeping the lights on and making sure we're doing well here at Texas Sports Unfiltered. And then we'll come back and we'll get into a little bit of MLB, maybe talk a little SNL when we come back. And if you guys have any questions for the legendary lifetime Longhorn Greg Swindell, you can throw those in on the chat as well, and throw those in on the text line. And we'll go to those when we come back here on Texas Sports Unfiltered with Open Gym here 4 to 6 p.m.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations.
I got this, Dad. This is Camilla McKay, and my dad can help with any TV or stereo needs you have around your house. Just call him, and he will come to you with advice and a great price. And the guys that work for him are awesome. They can install anything, anywhere. So, like my dad says, just relax and smile. We handle all the work.
So just give us a call at 255-8678 or on the web at avconsultations.com.
McCall Custom Homes. If you're thinking about doing a renovation of a bathroom, the kitchen, maybe some extended outdoor space, you want someone who's going to bring you custom renovation. And that's what Mike McCall Custom Homes is all about. Been doing it at a high level in Austin for 40 years. Father-son team with tons of experience, and they care about the details. They care about bringing you custom work because they want you to refer them to your friends. So get over to McCall Custom Homes, ATX.com. McCall Custom Homes, ATX.com. Check out the work. You can check out the work on social media.
I'm going to get the chat
Custom
thing on
Homes.
my screen.
But you want, when it comes to your home, you want a trusted ally and someone who's going to bring value, added value to your home and a great living experience. And that's what McCall Custom Homes is all about.
BK here for OLIPOP. Man, this stuff is the game changer of all game changers. Their slogan is a new kind of soda, and that's exactly what it is. You get that same great soda taste, but OLIPOP is actually good for you. Inside of every can, a blend of 7 unique botanicals, plant fibers, and prebiotics. You're getting 9 grams of fiber in every can, only 2 to 5 grams of sugar, and man, the flavor is absolutely there. Classic soda flavors like cola, root beer, lemon lime, and Dr. Goodwin, that's their version of a Dr. Pepper, and some other great flavors as well. The grape, the cream soda, the cherry cola, it's all fantastic. I'm telling y'all, OLIPOP tastes just like the soda you grew up sipping, but with the added benefits of microbiome and digestive health support as well. Pick up OLIPOP at H-E-B, Target, Walmart, Whole Foods, and Costco all throughout the Austin area and the state of Texas. And head over to drinkolipop.com. Use the promo code TEXAS20 for a discount on your first purchase. It's OLIPOP, a new kind of soda.
All right, back here on Open Gym at Texas Sports Unfiltered. We'll tell you, Greg, if you find, I don't know, I can't see the same screen you're seeing, but if there is a comment over on the right side of the screen, if you have anything over there that might be able to see it on that. I don't know if you have access to it or not. I can't tell.
I did earlier, but I can't see it anymore. We'll figure it out eventually.
What happened? There's a cat line. We've got a couple people in there. We'll give you a couple more minutes to throw that in there. If you haven't put it in, I'll let it slide for the next till 5:40. I'll say till 5:45. We'll say we'll go in that question of what year did Greg Swindell win the Baseball America's National Player of the Year here at Texas. A very big, this is part of that illustrious career of Greg Swindell. Joining me here on Open Gym, keeping it where we want to keep the conversation going. Greg, you keep up with Major League Baseball as well, I'm sure. This has been an interesting offseason. I'm an Astros guy myself, which I know gets me hate from half of our audience, if not more. But we did get to see that Alex Bregman has now left the Astros and has ended up in Boston with the Red Sox. Is this, I kind of put everything, when I was doing a show with Rob Babers, he would ask me how you could tell when the Astros were going to kind of hit the coast button. I don't think it's a rebuild, but kind of the coast button. It was like, here's the difference. If they re-sign Kyle Tucker, they're probably going to go for it. If they trade Kyle Tucker, probably means we're not going to spend the same money we used to spend. It probably means coast. And they traded Kyle Tucker. Now Alex Bregman has moved on, and I get they offered him a ton of money. Says he wanted to sign a long-term deal. No one wanted to give him to a long-term deal. The Red Sox offer him a 3-year deal, but they give him about $5 to $10 million more than anybody else was reportedly offering. So I get why he took that deal. So he goes to the Red Sox. Is this an Astros team? I mean, they still have good players on this team. Is this an Astros team you feel is still going to be trying to compete, get to another ALCS after all that run of ALCS? Or is this maybe where we saw like back in the day when the Braves had that run and maybe you see it tail off a little bit? And they'll still be an okay team, but maybe not the World Series team they were.
Yeah, they had a run of 7 straight ALCSs. Broke last year. So I live in Cyprus. I live right here in Houston. So I played for the Astros. Grew up an Astro fan. So I keep up with the Astros a little bit. And how can you say when you don't have Springer, Correa, Bregman? I mean, all these Tucker, Presley's gone as well. You can't think you're going to be as good. I mean, because those guys are really good players. But they do have a young farm system and young players that came in last year and played well. Can they make it to the World Series? I guess anybody can make it to the World Series, but I just don't know if they have the depth, for one, because the depth behind the other guys were the guys that are playing now. I can't even think of anybody's name right now. But they're a team that their pitching was not healthy all season last year. They lost Verlander again this year, but he wasn't healthy a lot of the season last year. I think pitching carries you a long way at that level. And do they have enough? I don't think so, but hopefully you as an Astro fan and me as well, we'll be surprised. They'll play good baseball. That's all you want, again, is to put a good product on the field. And I think the Astros are working for that. And if they're in the mix towards the end of August, early August, I mean, they'll go out and get someone. They want to win. They felt the win. But I think Houston's been spoiled. The city's been spoiled. And so they're going to be in for a rude awakening if they start out slow and have to understand as a fan that this is a whole different new team. I mean, these aren't really veteran type players. You got Jose Altuve that's played a long time as an Astro at the major league level. So you have to understand that they might not make it to the playoffs, but they're gonna play hard. And as an ex-player, I never understood the fans, because it's not like you go out there and you don't want to win. You're just not as good a team as the guys you're playing. And Houston fans are going to have to realize that, and us as fans doing this show right now are going to have to realize that as well.
Yeah, no, it is. This feels like the one that is, because, you know, ownership and GM and everybody else will never tell you, look, financially, we made a lot of money, but at this point, you know, we're supposed to kind of live off the rewards of what we did, and financially is what we think we're going to do. They don't tell you that, so you think they're still trying to go and they're just doing a bad job of it. It's all part of what they're trying to do. So you should be happy that we were able to get the 7 ALCSs. I'm with you there. I also seen a few different stories about this now, and I know in your career you did go from a starting pitcher to a reliever, and it's not necessarily the same thing as what these, but we saw a story that Mike Trout is going to be changing, and he's open to going to right field now instead of center field. We know that Rafael Devers has says, I am a third baseman, I'm not moving. What is, as a player, what goes into in the thought process of changing positions? And, you know, are you more on the side of steadfast, this is my position, if you take this away from me, you're taking away who I am and my soul? Or is it, let's go win some baseball games, and how do we do that?
I think Trout, he hadn't been on the field, you know, in a while. He's been sore, he's been hurt, and so for him to have the MVPs that he does, had the career that he's had, a Hall of Fame career, he wants to be on the field, and he doesn't care what position it is. I mean, anything but DH. I think that's the Devers thing. He still thinks he can play third base, but they might have a younger kid that might be a little quicker down there, might have a better arm at third base. I don't think anybody really wants to be a DH until you have to be a DH, and Devers doesn't think that. Trout, on the other hand, has a lot of room out there. He's got to cover a lot of room. He hasn't played. He's getting older. Right field might be a good spot for him. And again, he wants to be on the field. Unlike a Marcus Stroman, who they tell him he's going to be a reliever, and he's like, no, I'm a starter. He's like telling them what he's going to do.
Yeah.
And to me, that was Marcus Stroman saying, I just don't want to be a Yankee anymore. No, I mean, you're not going to tell the team what you're going to do. The team's going to tell you, or you're not going to pitch. He said he did it in the playoffs because it was the playoffs and it was different, which is true. But in my career, I got released by Houston, went to Cleveland, then the next spring went to Minnesota, expecting to be a starter. I'd started for 10 years. I gave up a couple home runs to lefties, and I thought I was getting released. And they called me in and say, no, we want to try you out in the bullpen. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's great. Because in college, I would start on Friday and get a save on Saturday. My arm, I bounced back easy. So I tried it, and I pitched 7 more years at the major league level. So I pitched 17 years, 10 as a starter, 7 as a reliever, and probably it extended my career. I never argued with them one bit. I went, I did my job. My first year in Minnesota, I had 60 games or something and threw over 115 innings. So like I should have been a starter. It should have kept me as a starter. I threw almost as many innings, but it did. It made me love the game again. And you just don't tell teams what you're going to do. In the Stroman case, I brought that part up. And for Trout, is a Hall of Fame guy. He's willing to do what it takes to stay on the field. And Devers, he'll be fine. I don't think anyone wants to be a DH, and he might start out at third base, but eventually you might see I don't have it like I used to. That's what happened to me. My fastball started going a little down, and I just couldn't last 5, 6, 7 innings. I could last 2 or 3. And so changes have to be made the further you go in your career. And I commend Trout for it. And the other guys, someone will talk to them, and they'll listen.
Yeah, and the Devers one too is because they signed Alex Bregman. And so you bring in a third baseman. When you have a third baseman, I get there's a little bit, of wondering what I did wrong for you to bring in another third baseman. Go get another position. I've got it. I got it locked down here. Don't worry about it. But yeah, it is always interesting when you see players and I get it. I talked about this some on Friday of Travis Hunter going into the combine as a DB and just be like, it's a mistake. DBs make astronomically less money than wide receivers make. Go be a wide receiver. You can play DB, you can play both, but go where there's more money. I get the concept of a starter's a starter, one or two in a rotation as a starter is probably going to make more money for me than as a reliever. So I don't want to be a reliever because I'm going to make less money. But there's the other side of it as well. I think there's a lot of players who are ready to go play for their team. And it is, if you were building a team, is that something like when you look at it, is that kind of a basic level of, are you playing for us or are we paying you to play and we pay you to play? And you're not really, it doesn't, the day that it goes wrong, and that, because that's been one of the problems with the Yankees over the years. They've got a lot of guys that are not trying to be Yankees. They're trying to get a big paycheck. And then at the end of the day, maybe come up a little short.
Well, if you want to win, I mean, you'll do whatever it takes. You do what it takes to win. I mean, I understand he thinks he's a starter. Okay. I mean, Stroman, we go to the Stroman thing. He thinks he's a starter, but as long as you're trying to tell the team what to do, if he keeps it up, he's not going to be a Yankee, which might be the best thing for him, because now he's already kind of stirred the pot by saying he's not going to go to the bullpen. He should listen. Pitchers get hurt all the time. Injuries happen a lot in baseball. He could be in the bullpen, and all of a sudden, the first week of the season, somebody goes down, and now he's going to start the whole season. You want to keep yourself in New York is what you want to do. You don't want to be anywhere else. And for any player to kind of say what they're not going to do to the team, I don't think that's a right thing to do. You listen to him, and if not, have your agent say, all right, if he's not going to be a starter, find a place for him on another team and trade him. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Let's look at, I just want to get your opinion on Juan Soto staying in New York, but going to the Mets. Does he understand the Mets? Is there any chance this work out for the Mets?
He was already a Met, wasn't he?
Well, he was a Yankee, wasn't he? And then he went to the Mets.
Stroman?
No, I'm talking about Juan Soto. Sorry.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Sorry, I switched over to. No, I'm talking about Juan Soto, who did.
I'm hard of hearing. I couldn't hear that part.
I'm talking about Juan Soto going from the Yankees to the Mets. Do they have any shot in this as actually working out, or are they still in the world where last season the Mets were paying like 5 starters that weren't on their team because they kept trying to sign guys and it just never works out, and then they go, we got to fully rebuild, so we're still going to pay him, but we get rid of him. This Juan Soto is a hell of a player, but that is a lot of money to give to one guy.
Ooh, that's a lot of money to give to a whole team. I mean, that's one person. Yeah, you always hear like guys before me were like, "Man, we just said we made the money that you made." That's what I'm saying now. I wish I made the money these guys are making, but it's all relative. I think for the Mets it can. I mean, I think they have a good team. Soto went to the Yankees. They end up making the playoffs. Didn't win it, but he's a good player. Can it? I don't know. I don't think one player makes a team. You got to have everyone around him that complements him. He's going to be great for you, but you have to have everything else. But I think the Mets are going to be capable of winning, and obviously getting a player of his caliber is going to help.
No, it feels like it's going to keep being a problem. So, all right, Greg, if we go into the MLB, if you have to look at the teams that you think have a great shot this season, that are teams that you have to worry about, is it still just the Dodgers and then everybody else, the Dodgers, the Yankees, and everybody else? This Dodgers team that just keeps spending money over money, and then I feel like they just feel like, well, we'll be dead when Ohtani's contract comes up, so someone else will have to deal with this mess. It feels like it's inevitable that it's going to be a problem at some point, but they're just loading up right now. Is there another team that can compete with the Dodgers?
Maybe in an inter-squad game. Themselves. I mean, look at it on paper. I mean, they have billionaires at every position. They got the best player in baseball. They had the best pitcher in baseball, who's now signed back, Kershaw. Their staff is great. The pitching staff. I mean, they're just a team where, yeah, you look at them now in February and say, no, nobody can beat them. But it can happen. I think Boston getting Bregman is going to help them, and Walker Buehler now in Boston. The Yankees have done them. They got a great pitching staff. It's still New York. It's hard to win in New York, but I think in the end, I think the Yankees and the Dodgers. I mean, you get what you pay for, and they're trying to win championships by paying these guys. But ultimately, I just don't see anyone can match the Dodgers.
Is that, you think it's good for baseball or bad for baseball to just have it so incredibly loaded? And I know the Yankees did it for years too, but it just feels like this Dodgers team, when you put in the greatest player in Shohei Ohtani and then a team that would be amazing without that guy, it just feels like it's somewhat stacked in a way that isn't very fun for most baseball fans if you're not a fan of the Dodgers.
Well, they've figured it out. I mean, deferrals and all the things like that with so much money going around. It is bad because, I mean, this is kind of what happened a long time ago. Like you said, with the Yankees, nobody could compete because they were just overpaying players and winning a lot of championships. But I mean, can it be bad? I mean, every team makes money. They're not losing money, but I don't know how they're making billions of dollars like they're going to have to pay. So hopefully it's not going to end a lot of things in the game, but they figured it out, and we'll see. I mean, they're defending world champs, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be, I mean, there's always that tough road, but they had injuries last year or just fine with how many people they have on that roster. It's depressing to watch as any other fan of any other team that they just kept loading and they keep loading and they keep loading and they keep loading. It is. And then I mean, if the only solace is that I'm not an Angels fan, because the Angels have tried to spend money like that. And then they had the two best players in baseball on their team, and they still couldn't even make the playoffs. So at least we're not that. We have a team of the Houston Oilers, Houston Astros fan. We've got a good run. We'll have a good team again this year. It just may not be there. Real quick, before we got 5 minutes left with the legendary lifetime Longhorn Greg Swindell, who with me here on Open Gym. There was another big thing that happened on Saturday. There was too much happening on Saturday. Texas baseball game, Texas basketball game, and the All-Star game. And then on Sunday, then we got SNL 30 or SNL 50, where they were celebrating 50 years. Have you ever been an SNL fan, or were you just always playing on Saturday nights so you didn't get a
Always been a fan. It went down for a few years, like 10 years ago. It's like, who are these people? They're not funny. I mean, but back in the day with Chico Escuela, those guys, I mean, it's amusing. Some of the stuff they can come up with, and the comedians are funny. And then it's kind of tapered off. But last night it was unreal to have everyone come back. I mean, to see, I mean, and the skits, I mean, two guys arguing and Kevin Costner sitting right there. I mean, it was some, and
he's got an elbow head in his lap. It was very weird.
It was some good moments, and glad for it. I mean, it's a show that they thought was going to go away not too long ago, but Lorne Michaels just keeps it going. A big Saturday Night Live fan. Just in the world we live in today, sometimes it got a little too political for me. But
I get that. No, and it was great to see Eddie Murphy. They had a sketch which was the politically incorrect sketch where they just showed all the sketches and things like, well, none of these things that we can do anymore. It was like, and then they phased out everybody in blackface and everything else they're doing. I was like, I appreciate that you're owning that you have done all these things instead of people now that pretending. It's not as bad. It was funny. It was okay at the time. Let me ask you. So if you're a fan, what are some of your all-time, if you had to say like your top two or three all-time sketches or characters, what would you go like top 2 or 3 all-time?
I like Goat Boy. Goat Boy. I mean, just somebody to come out like Mango, the little ape guy. I mean, I have a 12-year-old sense of humor, so I mean, anytime you throw an animal part in there, it makes me laugh. But Goat Boy, Mango, Chico Escuela. I mean, we're going back to the 70s now. Baseball been very good to me. And the weekend updates are always funny. I love those.
Yeah, always a fan. Yeah, when they do Kenan Thompson does David Ortiz is always very fun.
He does Big Papi exact. I played with Big Papi when he was David Arias with Minnesota, and then the next year I come back and his name is David Ortiz. I'm like, wait a minute, what are we doing here? Well, I think David Ortiz worked out for him.
Yeah, that guy's much better. Yeah, it worked out. It seems to go well. Greg, thank you so much for joining me today here on Texas Sports Unfiltered and Open Gym. Hopefully we'll continue to have guests like Greg come back and other guests come in and talk about you, especially as Texas baseball season keeps continuing. We're saying They won in Arlington, Greg. They won in Arlington.
Hey,
This
two and
means
one. We're Globe Life Shiners champs.
This means a bright future for Texas sports. But I really appreciate you coming. We appreciate everybody who joined us in the text line. We'll get the winner. By the way, 1985 was the year we were looking for. 1985 Baseball America.
I kind of remembered that a little bit.
A little bit. I had a few awards. I had it stop because I was pulling up all the stuff I could ask the question. It was too many on your career there, Greg. We really appreciate you coming in. We'll keep it going with more Open Gym coming back tomorrow, back here at 4 p.m. Remember the Tech Sports Unfiltered new schedule, Bucky and BK starting at 7 a.m. now, so you can listen to us all day here on Texas Sports Unfiltered on the app, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, on Twitter, wherever you are watching us. We appreciate you joining us. We'll be back with more Open Gym tomorrow. Until then, be kind, be safe, keep your underwear clean. We'll see you right back here for more on Texas Sports Unfiltered and Open Gym each